Life's the battlefield and we ain't feeling weak. From love to the game and the power we seek. Our voice is strong, breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Politics and prayers, ain't no subject we shun. Keep it real, keep it raw till the battle's won. Fitness, tips to faith, every topic under the sun. With honor and valor, every man's battle begun. Warriors with words, swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Warriors with words, swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night Podcast. We are streaming with some new guests this evening, and to my right, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little about yourself.
I'm Matt Keener. I am a small business owner. In my spare time, I write some political commentary for some conservative publications. A lot of them with America in the title, or American Thinker, Federalist, Daily Caller, American Spectator, American Greatness. I've published in. I definitely got more political, like 2020, like so many other people probably.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, Grayson.
Hey, Grayson Frank, work in pharmacy, been in Medina for since 2009. Yeah, that's about it. We'll go from there.
Right on.
Yeah, Anthony Bonnet, been here, 4 times now? Just feels like forever. I have no interests that are interesting, so.
No long walks on the beach.
Well, by myself, of course, but nobody joins me.
Any long walks off of short piers?
I like to play in traffic a lot. That's usually my thing.
Runs with scissors. Well, hello, everyone. I'm David.
Hello, David.
Hello, William.
It's been 12 hours since my last drink.
Well, cheers to that.
Cheers indeed. Cheers indeed. Awesome. Well, hey, look, I think this is episode number 8. I'm going to have to stop saying that, though, because I'm going to eventually not be able to remember which episode it is. But obviously, we had something kind of go on this week. People might have heard of it. We talked a lot about it beforehand. But, yeah, there was an election, and Donald Trump is your fucking president, United States of America.
Madman did it.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, not even just a little bit. It was a fucking landslide. It was funny because the night of, we had a live podcast here, and it was a shit show. But leading up to it, I was like looking at bets on Polymarket, and I was like, dude, the only bet that you could actually get a payout on was if you bet for him to win all the swing states. And I was like, is it worth dropping $100 to make like 500?
It would have been worth it.
That's a tight one. I don't know. Yeah, let's needless to say, he took all the swing states, like every one of them. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I thought there was a chance of it. You know, I posted a couple things ahead of time. I just didn't think that there was going to be a lot of Democrats that actually went out and voted. I don't think they felt that strongly about Kamala, and they didn't have enough reason to hate Trump, as people might say. So, yeah, what'd you guys think?
I was just glad that relatively we knew the winner election night. I felt like there was going to be in sort of intentional unknowing, like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, all Michigan, all those states. I felt like we're going to just keep finding votes in boxes or mailed in ballots until they miraculously had a winner.
Got a little
So-
PTSD from
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. And they were kind of like cluing. They're like, oh, Detroit has this coming, or Philadelphia has this coming in. And I was like, oh, here we go. And I think Arizona just today finally officially
Yeah.
declared.
Yeah,
for
this
Trump.
morning. But they still haven't even finished their House seats yet, though. They
No.
and there's some of them where they got 3-4% leads with like 8% of the vote left to count, and they still haven't called those for those people.
It's hard to believe that in today's technology that's our reality. Like to that point, like yeah, I expected a little bit more drama with the blue wall of PA, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and I didn't expect that he'd get all three. Like Michigan to me was really going to be the wild card, but like we were saying the whole time, like you have to win Pennsylvania. Like you could win without, but it's going to be very difficult and to, clean them all. But yeah, I'm blown away. Like, I mean, California, of course, the Dems are counting all those votes out at the cemeteries and everything. So we understand that takes a little extra time, but, but come on, man. I mean, yeah, we're a week in here and, the big races are all finished, but yeah, the House as it sits 213 to 203, 213 for the GOP. And they need 218 for a majority.
Yeah, I think
So-
I was looking through the races today. It looks like there's 6 GOP candidates winning by at least 2%. So, I mean, I think it's, and you remember how Poly Market was that night. Like, I bet you just say if you looked it up right now, Poly Market probably has it like a 93% chance that the government or the
Yeah.
GOP is going to take the
Yep.
take the House. Which, wow, here's that opportunity. I mean, I think. I want to hear from you guys too, but that just kind of goes like, what is the difference between now and 2020? I really think that people did want to change. They just didn't want to admit it. So why not just not go out and vote? Either that or it's just really crazy that Joe Biden had like an extra 6 million votes, despite the fact that Obama was probably the most popular overall president of our generation. And Biden smoked him. Like people were just that excited about Joe Biden, and then all of a sudden we drop back down, and you're missing 10 million votes.
I think you're led to believe that like people were excited about Joe Biden, and you're led to believe that people were excited about Kamala Harris, but organically, people were not excited about either candidate, and you were led to believe that you were, crazy or an outcast if you were a Trump supporter, but won the popular vote, won every swing state, like you said, and I was scared, not to be conspiratorial, but that they were not going to allow him to win one way, shape, or form, and they did shoot at him a couple times, and pretty much try anything else imaginable to keep him out of office, and yeah, I mean it's exciting. Fundamentally, our country's going to go in a totally opposite direction than the way it was going.
Well, and there's no excuse. We're going to get to some of the announcements Trump made this week, but there's no excuse for any of the changes that they want to happen, right? Like you look at his cabinet that he's putting together. I think she's going to be a shark as far as the woman that he chose to
Chief of staff.
to be his chief of staff. She's a
First
little
female chief of
underwhelming. Yeah, first female chief of staff.
That doesn't get celebrated 'cause she's conservative.
Multiple protected class if you want to go that direction, right? She's an elderly woman. But I think that just kind of sets the bar that he's going to look at everything kind of outside of the box. You've got a lot of great people surrounding him right now that are still involved with RFK Jr. JD Vance, I think, is going to be a tremendous vice president. I actually saw something today where they talked about possibly making him the leader of the Senate. one other VP has ever had that position. But if he were to do that, that would be a pretty big thing. Tulsi Gabbard, obviously, I hope that she becomes chief of staff. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but or I'm sorry,
Secretary of
State. Yeah. But so that's one aspect. Then you have control of the House. Then you have control of the Senate. What's to stop you from making things happen? There's no excuse. And if anything, especially those that are winning these House seats and these Senate seats, they better do what Trump wants to do. They better take a part in it. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves out of a job in 2 years. Because I think people voted for them because they wanted to get they wanted to give Trump an actual chance to get stuff passed this time.
I mean, man, most people just want to be able to afford groceries and to fill up their vehicles with gas again. Like that's, and you've seen how terrible we've been with international relations lately. Those are the two main things that we seem to most care about, and that's been went down the shitter. If nothing else happens, just seeing those things rebound would be another red wave next election, possibly.
Yeah, real quick, want to throw this up there too from our election night show. Here is the Guys Night Podcast Election Night T-shirt. All right, it's not on the shop, guysnight.com, but anybody is welcome as long as they are a biological male and have an ID. That's how we roll here at the Guys Night Podcast. Comment on the YouTube video, and I will make sure that we send you one of these so that you can wear it around proud moving forward. Grayson, you said obviously you have some experience in pharmaceuticals.
I do.
How does that shaping up now with everything going on? Have you noticed any change in direction? Anything that is kind of like, hey, pay attention to this, or we might do this? Are you is that rolled down to you yet in your positions or roles?
It hasn't really come through. The election hasn't really had a big impact, I don't think yet. But I think RFK is going to shake it up.
Absolutely.
And I think he's going to shake it up in the right way. We're completely over medicated. In this world, everything is a drug, and the United States is one of 2 countries that's allowed to have direct to consumer marketing for pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, the other one's
So only 2.
what is it? The other one, Finland? Is the other one Finland? I think.
I should know this.
That's all right.
What was it
I mean,
that allows advertising?
Yeah.
It's New Zealand.
New Zealand.
New Zealand,
Yeah, that's
there you
right.
go.
There you go.
And I'm not saying drugs have. There are life-saving drugs out there, right? I mean, absolutely. I was talking to a friend of mine from high school over the weekend, and he's on a drug for a serious condition. I get it, but that's our answer to everything. And I think the healthy, the more the working out. I mean, obviously, I see you guys in the gym. The food that we eat, everything's in a box now. Kids, their behavior, their, the ADHDs and the autisms and things like that. You kind of want to just get back to the basics, I think, and say, what are they eating for breakfast? Like what is it? Is it full of sugars? Is it full of chemicals that you can't even pronounce half of it, right? And so that's what, from the pharmacy standpoint, I really think RFK is gonna make a huge impact, because the things I hear him saying, I mean, he's not dicking around.
Yeah.
He takes it for real.
Yeah, well, he was. So I saw him on today. A couple of things he brought up that were kind of like shocker to me. Well, not a shocker, but it was like put out there was over. Let me remember if I get these statistics right. Somebody's out there's going to fact check me, but I believe it's 50% of our school lunches are processed food. 70% of food purchased on food stamps is processed food, and 10% of all things purchased on food stamps is sugar drinks, like Coke, Pepsi, et cetera, right? So you look at like who gets affected the most by it. Well, one, if you're low income family and you don't have resources to eat healthier or be in areas that have healthy places to buy food, that's one problem. You talk about food deserts like there is out there in major cities and stuff like that. It's not like they have farmers markets all over the place with healthy food. They're trying to get better at that, but Then you go into grocery stores. Almost everything in a grocery store anymore is processed to some degree, right? And then food lunches. Obviously, they're trying to cut back on waste, so I'm sure a lot of that stuff is done that way for a certain reason. But you know, it looks like RFK is going to oversee the FDA. He's going to over all the agencies that have anything to do with food. That they're going to have some kind of shakeup on that aspect. I hope it's the case. I'm actually got a list of all the Trump announcements that he's made since he's been elected or since he's become president-elect. Totally different ball game. He's got a game plan together for sure. I think him and his staff have really put ideas together where they're like, no, this is what we're gonna do. So I think it's gonna make a big difference, and hopefully, you know, especially on the food and pharmaceutical side, because I did hear too that RFK Jr. I think the night of the election actually said that they're going to eliminate the ability to advertise drugs on TV.
Yeah, I know he was going to attack that, and I think it's needed. I think it's necessary. Actually, I mean, we are, you know, this shit is just jammed down our throat, and you know, look at Ozempic, right? Take Ozempic for, yeah, I can hear the grumblings now. But,
Yeah.
you know, there are people that are type 2 diabetics, because that's what Ozempic is indicated for, and that's the only FDA indication for it. Now, there are other GLP-1s that are for weight loss, right? So they can, you know, they can get around it, but a lot of the weight loss is not a covered product for companies. So, you know, but Ozempic, I mean, you have every schmo out on this drug that, you know, they're not even big, you know, they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to trim for the gym. It's like, what do you do? So there's type 2 diabetics that actually need these drugs that can't get it. There's a shortage on it, right?
Sure.
And it's like,
Well, because there's a huge gray market for it now, right?
Right. And these fuckers are getting uber rich, billions of freaking dollars running through on a couple of drugs, you know. I mean, shit, look what they did with COVID. We can go down this route forever.
Yeah,
but, you know, with pharmaceuticals, so I don't want to get too hot on
No,
it.
we actually want to have a show on that too, so we'll make sure we definitely bring you in on that, because it sounds like, you know, in your background you got a ton of knowledge on the way that stuff works. But you know, I hope that they do make a big approach on it. It definitely needs it.
What RFK said, I would just say it's needed. I think it's very necessary, and I think it's going to happen.
For sure. Anthony, what about you, brother? What's your thought process? What if afterwards, now that it's over?
I mean, for as much as they want to, I mean, and he has been aggressive unnecessarily at times. Trump has really been a great collaborator in most things he's done. I mean, just looking back to his past, you know, accomplishments or what he did during his last presidency, I still recall. I mean, that man almost brought North Korea to peace talks with us. I mean, when's the last time you've heard about that ever?
Right.
You know, what someone made a list recently of all the international things of what's happened lately with of all the press statements coming out after, you know, Trump became president-elect, of, you know, China being like, well, we would love to open peaceful negotiations with the U.S. and, you know, resolve this Taiwan matter in a orderly manner. You know, Russia saying we have great, strong relations with the U.S. now, and that's not what you were hearing in the past 4 years.
We didn't hear anything.
No, well, they were. Well, if we heard anything, it was real aggressive. You know, with China being like, well, the U.S. is essentially an unmanly country, and we want to ban all that stuff. So, I mean, having Tulsi Gabbard on board as a Democrat, you know, first female chief of staff, RFK, he really does collaborate and actually bring in from both parties. So as much as he has been aggressive, and at times that's needed, he really does look at all solutions possible for a problem.
Yeah.
And it gives me hope on those things.
And I've actually got the list that you're talking about here. So this was from Liz Wheeler. She posted this out. It was earlier this afternoon. Obviously, I tried fact checking a lot of this. There's really not a lot of articles on most of the stuff that's on here, but you've probably heard some of this stuff through third-party news sources if anybody's been listening throughout the day or the last couple of days. Stock market hits record high. Migrant caravan at the border dissolves. Hamas calls for the end of the war. Bitcoin hits record high. We were all just talking about the effect just in the last hour. What has happened?
3% in the last hour. It's been up 20%.
Yeah, I think
Well, as far as
Doge is up
Dogecoin,
45% right now.
Dogecoins, oh my god.
Doge is going to be
Let's
huge
go.
again. And obviously, with Elon being a part of all this, we know that he's got an
Department
obsession
of
with it.
government efficiency.
Yeah.
Did you see how much
Hashtag
Twitter,
Doge,
did you see how
what?
much Twitter jumped up in value? It was like 20 billion after Trump got elected or something.
No, I didn't.
Wow.
That's
It's something
huge,
ridiculous.
though. But I look forward to getting to some of those other things, too, that he's kind of released on Twitter. So Qatar kicked out Hamas leaders, told Hamas to leave today. I think that was this morning. EU will buy U.S. gas, not Russian gas. Putin will sell oil in U.S. dollars. Zelensky had a conversation today with Trump and Elon. It was only about 25 minutes. You know, Zelensky came out saying, "Oh, the U.S. is going to still be a strong supporter." I'm sure he's going to say whatever he wants to keep his people from retreating. But I'm interested to see where that develops over the next couple of things, because actually one of the things he mentioned during his announcements actually goes back to that. We'll talk about that here in a minute. New York City mayor and the voucher program for all illegals. I don't know if you guys heard about that yesterday.
I did, yep.
What was it, $350 a week they were getting to buy food? Did you hear the reason that they got it? Why they gave that to people? Because the shelters that were offering food to them, they were not being, what's the word?
Dietary friendly.
No, it was more so like culturally appropriate based off of the illegal immigrants that were going in there. So they weren't eating the food because it wasn't like
Tacos.
Oh, I did hear that. Yeah.
yeah. So they were wasting a ton of food because nobody was eating it. So then they're like, hey, we're wasting all this food. Let's give them $350 a week. Yeah,
Oh
so
my
they
God.
put an end to that. The New York mayor came out yesterday and put a stop to that. Mexico actually stopped migrants before getting to the U.S. border this morning. China wants to work out peaceful with U.S. Big U.S. company to move out of China. I do not know which company that is. I don't know if anybody's heard which company that might be, or if somebody wants to look that up and pull that up. But yeah, I think those are all. I mean, it's no secret to why they're happening now, right? And once again, we're going to get into these announcements here in a little bit. But one thing I did want to touch on before we get into the Trump announces, what do you guys think about that report about FEMA? Did you guys hear that?
Oh, I didn't catch
Oh,
that.
where they were, where they were saying about Trump houses, where if there's a Trump sign, do not go in.
Leave them alone.
Yeah,
don't
skip the Trump houses. Like, wow, man. Just to think to be in that kind of position where you're talking about federal aid after a hurricane, and you're literally saying skip that house because it has a Trump sign in front of it.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Oh, yeah. So they apparently fired the
It's
lead
supposed to be a-
manager.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a rumor. I think the New York Times said it was a false rumor.
100% fact. And here's
Yeah.
the funny thing. They put it in text messages. They put it in a company letterhead. Like, there's so much proof. It's
Holy
literally
shit.
like they wanted to get caught, and it's in the fight. So supposedly she's been fired, the woman who put it out. But once again, who's in charge of FEMA? And we're gonna get into all these things. But just blew me away. All right, so let's go over some of these announcements he's made just to kind of get your thoughts on it. So you guys have you guys listened to all of these, caught wind of it at all?
Quite a few.
Yeah, so free speech, we'll start off with that one. A couple of things that he mentioned out there. Banning federal agencies from colluding with third parties to censor, limit speech in any way. Ban federal money from being able to label speech as mis or disinformation. He wants to redo Section 230 to allow for all lawful speech and to take down content regarding child exploitation and terrorism. Universities who flag or prevent free speech should lose federal funding. This is a big one for me. 7-year cooling off period for employees of 3-letter organizations, FBI, CIA, etc., before they can take a position with any company that handles a large amount of United States population data. So basically your private information. A digital constitution. So essentially you would need not only a court order to take down content, but you would have to do due process if it is taken down, explain to the person why, and immediately offer an opportunity to appeal in a quick manner. And then users over the age of 18 have the right to opt out of any content moderation. So essentially, if I'm 18 and I want to be able to see everything, I should be able to see everything. It shouldn't be modered one way or the other based off of if it's conservative or not conservative. So that was what I got out of the free speech. I thought that was pretty big. I really like the idea of a cooling off period. And in something else, he talks about something like that similar. What do you guys think?
Well, I consider myself a free speech absolutist for the most part. Like, unless you're threatening physical harm to people, and
Sorry, guys, that's me on the
so
table.
many topics.
I just realized that. I was like, wow, that's loud.
There were so many topics that were taboo or you could not talk about. under, in the last 4 years during COVID. I mean, whether it was facts about COVID, facts about the vaccine. If you had any questions about the 2020 election, you were an election denier, and censored or shadow banned. And the agencies you mentioned, like the FBI, certainly some of these other agencies were working hand in glove with Twitter, 1.0. And Twitter with Elon probably wouldn't even have survived a Harris administration. They were certainly going to try to squash that or regain control of that. And I think they view those social media outlets as, they certainly know how powerful they are, and they view them as almost a mouthpiece for them, or they're working for them or with them essentially.
Well, in regards to that too, it's crazy. Like just the other day, I heard after the election, I heard somebody on CBS saying we need to control Twitter again, right? Like this is what happens when you allow them to say whatever they want to say on Twitter, and this is what we get for that. And then Kamala had said it once before, like, oh, all social media should be regulated to some degree.
Right. Need to regulate misinformation.
Well, and
they're the deciders of what that is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I like the idea that he puts in there that he talks about like any government backing. There'll be no government aid backing mis and disinformation, because frankly, that's how conversations are had. We can come down here and have shoot the shit about anything. We can all sit here and argue about why somebody's our favorite football player or why one team's better than the next. Imagine if somebody being able to stop that and be like, no, you can't talk well about that guy because of X. You can't talk well about Nick Bosa because he did a Trump dance after he sacked somebody today. But, the idea that could be controlled in any way, you should be able to get the information and sift through it on yourself. And I think that's what changed this election, is people are sifting through themselves and finding the data that's out there.
Right. They ask you to disavow your eyes. Like they ask you to look at social media or look at the original content and not believe that you saw what you saw. That the running narrative is actually the reality. So it's a game changer that Elon owns Twitter, and they're sitting around squawking about how Elon Musk ran a disinformation campaign and hijacked the election and how we got to regain control of that. And
it's only because they didn't own it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's 100% correct.
And you got to love how Soros went out 2 weeks before the election and bought 230 radio stations. Was it?
I didn't hear that. Is that right?
Yeah, he bought the right, and they fast tracked it because it has to get approved, I believe, through the Department of Justice, and they need the funding because it's overseas. Something with the overseas funding. The money's coming from overseas, so it has to be approved, and it usually takes however long, I don't know. Well, they fast tracked it. They approved it, and he had rights to. So all the guys, Bongino and all these guys, Alex Jones, they have a lot of podcasts and those kind of things going through the networks that he bought, and they just shut them down. And it's like, this is what I like about what you're talking about here. One of Trump's initiatives is that it applies to everybody, right? We know that we can win fair, straight up, and really what has happened over the past 8 years. I think really it's just a massive cleanup.
Yeah, I think that's 100% something that's necessary, and that is something else. One of his another announcements is kind of based on that deep state cleanup. So here's where I just found out. FCC seemingly approved a deal that would fast-track the left-wing billionaire's acquisition of more than 200 radio stations.
Yep.
They expedited a decision to allow Democrat MAGA donor George Soros to obtain a major stake in more than 200 radio stations, a move that the House Oversight Committee is investigating amid concerns of why can I not say
Polacks?
Politicization. Why can I not speak? And interference in the 24 election approved a deal that would permit left-wing billionaire acquisition of more than 200 Odyssey radio stations across America. You know, and here's the thing: by the time they're investigating, so this is 3 days ago is when that was written. 2 weeks prior is when it was acquired. So for that 2 weeks that he owned the radio airs, could have say whatever wanted, lock down whoever they wanted, and then the response isn't until after. And let's be real: if Kamala won, do you think anybody would have went back and been like, "Oh, let's investigate this Soros thing"? No,
Weird.
It was regarding something else somebody said today too. Like if Kamala won, like the thing we talked about earlier with FEMA, they're like. They thought Kamala was going to win, and if she won, nobody was going to go
Nobody's
back
going
and,
to jail for that.
no, of course not. But now people are hitting the,
Right.
so yeah,
Kind of a
interesting.
soft reset. By the way, I looked it up. The company that is moving out of China, or seeming to, is Steve Madden Shoes.
Really, Steve Madden.
Steve Madden.
Anybody remember that on Wolf of Wall Street? What's that?
Would you pass the whiskey?
Oh, most important announcement: pass the whiskey.
Yeah, it reminds me of Wolf on Wall Street. Steve Madden.
Has everybody seen the movie The Usual Suspects?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like George Soros, I think he's Kaiser Soze.
Funny enough, Kevin Spacey is a pedophile.
He was so good in that
He
fucking.
was.
What was that movie? Or that TV series that was out for like 6 years?
House of Cards.
God, that was such
So
a great
good.
series.
Yeah.
So good.
Ironically, the politicians used to run home to watch that because I think it really reminded them of a real life depiction of their lives.
Yeah, they're like, this is how it used to be. Back in the
You
day.
can do that? Oh.
I meant to say that in our politics podcast, so we could say it now. But like for those that want like a very surface level understanding of how deal making works in Washington, it's I think pretty accurate. I mean, at least they have to make it Hollywood interesting, but yeah, the mechanics of it,
Just like everything else.
Yeah. But the mechanics of it, I think, depicts pretty well who's actually running shit and changing things. Oh wow, that's me.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, obviously, the idea that college campuses are affecting students, the way that they're able to share things and stuff like that. And the problem is once again, who's going to once they do this, like kids are like, what are they going to do? They're going to stand up and fight for their right to speak, like in a college campus. Most of them are just going there to get a degree and be done. Yeah, there's a few select that are wrecking college campuses over Palestinian and Israeli rights. The idea that free speech is not something that's, that they could actually try to control that and people were okay with it. Like 70 million people still voted for Kamala Harris, and that was, oh God, Eminem. Fuck Eminem for going up there and introducing him. Like, dude, I remember
Lizzo.
the late 90s, early 2000s when Eminem was in the court battle because people were trying to say that his music was making him violent and all that shit. Like, does he not remember what the end of free speech potentially could have looked like? Like, in today's day and age, they just lock you up, dude. Like, you don't get to talk no more. Like,
We were on the cusp of like getting people arrested for speech crimes.
yeah.
And once you lose free speech or the Second Amendment, those are not coming back.
No, definitely not.
Once they grasp control of those things, they're not going to relinquish it.
Of course not.
I still think about there was the guy who played who did Twisted Sister, Dee Snider. He was in. I remember his Congress hearing where he actually had to defend his lyrics where they were claiming he was promoting violence and whatever. And he's like, no, these are not what these mean, or something like that nature. He's like, free speech is an integral part of our society. And then I remember during COVID when he went on to a radio show and basically cried, screaming and denouncing people for using his "we're not going to take it anymore" out front of Target, saying we're not going to wear the mask and support your business.
Right.
So it's. You live long enough to see yourself become the villain, it seems like. But all these people, they seem to turn once they get money and go to a Diddy party or something. It's
I
crazy.
think it's part of membership to the club. You got to say the right things.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Speaking of Eminem, did any of you guys see he had a video that went semi-viral, and then I wanted to bring it to the podcast, but then it just miraculously disappeared, curiously. But he had this it was probably like a 30-second clip talking about how Kamala knows real struggle, and we can't have a president who.
Oh, Jesus.
Did you see that?
No, but
So-
it just made me vomit in my mouth.
I'm telling you, like he went on like with this whole thing. Ironically, I saw it. Maybe. Well, I don't know. I saw it when I was in Germany, and it was ironic. It kind of made me think because he was going on about like, you know, using like his own life as a parallel, like which was all built on struggle and everything. And I thought for a minute there, we're going to lose part of the audience after I say this, but I thought, well, I know another politician who ran on struggle, and he even wrote a book. The book was called My Struggle, but in German that would be pronounced Mein Kampf. By the way,
Jeez, I can't believe you just said that.
but what's funny is I had that thought when I saw this because, like, you know, he's got videos of him walking with his head down and his hat low, and you know, kicking needles and rocks on the ground or whatever the fuck is on the ground in Detroit. And talking about his struggle and everything. But I have been searching for that thing, and it just kind of disappeared.
Gone.
Yeah.
Well, I think the big thing about Eminem is he's always wanted to be a strong, independent black woman. It just seems like he's always wanted to.
He's not?
Who am I to judge, man? I would just get censored.
Well, and
Yeah,
the
that's
disappointing is that fucking dude, Eminem is the shit. He's like one of my favorite rappers. He just wrote a fucking whole. His last album was all about trying to get banned and making fun of Gen Z and everything else.
All
you
these
know?
guys. Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
Oh.
Die-hard lip. It's disgusting.
Oh, man.
Well, that's like you know, you brought up, you know, I don't want to say the N word, the Nazis, right? You talk about German and stuff like that.
The other N word.
But like when we're talking about free speech, like you got to think about it. Was the AC or what is it? The
ACLU.
ACLU. Yeah, stuck up for the right to have Nazi parties in the 40s or 50s, right, or 60s, whatever it was. Like, because it was free speech.
Right.
Not that I agree. I obviously don't agree with anything that party stood for, other than the idea of nationalism, right? But
blonde hair, blue eyed, tall, thin women. That part was pretty cool too.
I'll support that. Yeah, that's fair.
But everything else was bad. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if to the point where we are now, where people are just trying to shut people up from being able to talk and have a conversation about a fucking cold.
That's the difficult part of our world, right? Like if you look at the justice system and people that commit the most heinous crimes, like they're entitled to due process and a lawyer. But should they? Like they just murdered somebody, you know? Absolutely. Like that's one of those necessary parts of the system there.
You know, I'm looking around and I just noticed like David has like all this space, and then the three of you guys are like all crammed together.
We're all
here.
crammed in.
How did that happen? It's terrible.
Friendly.
On our end.
I did shower yesterday or a week ago or whatever.
All right, so you guys got anything else to add to the free speech conversation?
Just like you mentioned the idea that just shooting the shit about football would somehow be censored, or having everyday conversations. But I mean, just the idea that ideas you would not agree with should be censored is so insane to me. It's like, let the dumb ideas be out there and let's discuss how stupid they are.
Like flat Earth.
Bring back bullying.
Don't get me started.
I mean, but like anybody can have a fucking conversation about anything. Like it, and you can quickly find out if they're full of shit. You know, but it's like let them talk. Let them talk.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I do have questions if water curves or not, but we don't need to talk about flat Earth.
What about what was that movie where they fired the bullets and they'd curve the bullets?
that's a great
Wanted.
movie. Yeah. Angelina Jolie.
Oh, that
I got kicked out of a
prime.
shooting range for trying that. I hit a bullseye on a target 3 rows down from me.
Did you compensate for the curve?
I did not. I did not compensate.
obviously
for the
that did
that's
not
on it.
curve.
No, that was.
Yeah. All right, so going into that goes into the deep state, in my opinion. So Trump's announcement on the deep state, I took 3 or 4 points from it. Inspector generals are no longer able to be inside of the building or part of the company. They have to be separated from the companies that they and be completely independent of the agencies that they monitor, CIA, FBI, etc. Not to be able to spy on our citizens.
It's good when the FBI is not investigating the FBI.
Yeah, I agree. Running disinformation campaigns against American people, and that goes to a lot of things. We talked about Project Chaos back in the 70s and some other things along the way. We talked about January 6th. We could talk about the attempted kidnapping to Gretchen Whitmer or whatever her name is.
Honestly, the COVID vaccinations were one of the biggest psyops of our generation.
Absolutely.
100%.
Preventing government employees, this is a big one, preventing government employees from taking jobs with companies they currently regulate. Those
Yeah,
bastards
that's
from the
FDA,
FDA,
yeah,
man.
absolutely.
The FDA going to work
Big.
for fucking big pharma, right?
Gottlieb.
Term limits in Congress was another one. I'm not. Unfortunately, people are too dumb to not have term limits. And I'm talking about the regular people in this fucking world, right? Like, because somebody voted for Nancy Pelosi fucking 25 fucking times. Like, at what point did you be like, God damn, like, somebody, it's like your grandpa, like, hey, grandpa, I think you should stop driving. You should stay home. I'm going to put you into a home. That was like 10 years ago for Nancy Pelosi. Like, the idea that she holds any power at all in our government, has any say, any, like, nobody should be looking up to her except, what's the fucking Grim Reaper? Yeah. That's the only person who should be looking at Nancy Pelosi and thinking anything good is going to come out of it. He's going to get to take a soul soon. But, you know, I think there's a lot of good out of that. I'm not sure how I feel about term limits because you can have somebody who's really good be kicked out of Congress. But at the same point in time, hopefully that means they're running for another position in a better scenario and moving up the ladder, so to say. So what do you guys think about some of those things?
They should certainly check these people that whether or not there's term limits, like you mentioned Nancy Pelosi, these people that you make a $300,000, a couple $100,000 a year salary, and somehow their net worth is $50 million, and clearly they're getting rich while they're in office.
Everybody does, right?
And so I have mixed feelings about the term limits. But these people shouldn't be dying in office. I feel like Dianne Feinstein or the California lady, she was getting like wheeled
Feinstein.
around.
Yeah.
And it's like cruelty, elder
abuse.
Elder
Yeah.
abuse,
Well, there comes a point in time where you're just not as quick and witted and smart as you were before. I mean, it happens to everybody.
Hi, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your test to see if you can stay for another term is, can you ride a bike?
Yeah.
Cognitive test.
I will say this though: the most impressive I've heard Biden speak, and probably that I could ever think of, I actually listened to him, was when he was accepting that Trump won.
I was going to comment on
video of him
that
looking
speech.
happy.
Like
He was
it
crystal
solid,
clear,
solid.
wide-eyed.
Yeah.
Like best Adderall or cocaine in the world,
Whatever it
or
is.
like
How much
he was.
Adderall did they give him?
He's
to get out
he
there
stopped to
and
see
talk?
Hunter real quick in the morning.
Yeah, like I was like, holy shit! If he spoke
Yeah.
like that for the last 4 years, nobody would be making fun of him. Like he
No.
sounded completely competent.
I was going to comment on that at some point here. If you look at the Kamala concession speech, which was there was a lot of hyperbole in that, and
I got an argue on that today. I'll have to share that. So yeah, I'm
good.
back to that.
Yeah. Well, so let's move on from Kamala because I'm gonna start throwing things here.
So-
Now, I mean, with her whole comment about like, well, we know there's dark times ahead, but and she went into a whole word salad of, well, even though there's dark times ahead, when it's darkest, you can see the most stars. And when these stars, and we need this and we need that, and we have to fight. And hard work is good work. It's like, oh my God, just go away. It's time to go away. But then Biden comes in and sort of like now, like he ran on, I'm going to be the great unifier. It's like, okay, this is your legacy. Like this 3 or 4 minute clip. It's like, oh, holy fuck, he actually sounds like a president. So he clearly had the cocaine breakfast with Hunter, and was like good to go.
I mean, either that or he's been trolling us for the last 4 years, and he's like, "Let me see what I can fucking get away with." Like, let's fuck with the American people.
I had that moment too. It's like we're in the fucking Matrix, and he just they rebooted him.
Yeah.
Who was standing behind him? I just wondered where that guy's hand was at. It was-
So with the deep state clean out, right? How much shit are they really gonna find? I mean, the conspiracies have
It depends on how hard they look, though, right? Let's
you
start
know,
with
you,
that.
what are said conspiracies, right? I mean, how much of this stuff is, when you look at, obviously Diddy parties were mentioned, Epstein, the guy doesn't just commit suicide in jail. We all know that, but do you think that's where Trump's going here? I mean, is he really trying to get, I think he should, but is he going to, naturally bring out some of these things where people are like, holy shit, like this is for real?
I think he has to. I think he has to. Like, okay, there's no reason not to. One, the entire American population just voted for you. You have control of the Senate. You have control of the House, assuming that things go well. You also have, not that it matters, but you also have the majority of the governors as well. People voted you in because of all the things that you said. They were tired of the other shit. They were tired of being lied to. And he ran on the fact that everybody was lying to everybody. You know, he brought up, release the Epstein list. Yeah, release JFK. Okay, well, he was going to release JFK last time, and people said not to do it, and he backed down.
He said someone was alive. I saw a video of him.
Yeah. That's what he told.
That person's dead now.
You know, if they are, if they're not, he's got to just have a fuck it mentality where he's like, I'm going to share everything. I want people to know, because guess what? If he doesn't, it just ruins everything that he says he stands for, in my opinion. Does it affect me one way or the other? Do I really care? Do I think that the CIA killed JFK? Absolutely. So do I really care if he releases it and we find out for sure? No. But it goes to like, hey, look, I fought for you too. Like, I was out there every day fucking on the, like, I'm not talking to millions of people, but when I'm out there talking, I'm having arguments on your behalf. Like, no, I think that he's going to be great for the country. Here's why. I think he's going to put a stop to this. Here's why. So it kind of lets everybody down if you don't come out and do the things that you said. And we'll find out pretty quickly, because I think he said it's going to be one of the first things he does is open up the JFK file completely.
He's
and
up against
somewhere to start.
I mean, you're talking Obama, Clinton's. Is Bush in there?
Yeah.
I think Bush is in there.
Well, Cheney.
For sure.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and so you've got, you know, and then you got Soros, Bill Gates.
Some of that stuff that we talk is conspiracy, though. What's there to release? That they're warmongers that own companies that were benefiting from finances from being at
The
war.
good guys all the time. I think
I don't think we're ever the good guys.
Obama literally used the IRS to investigate his political opponents. That was actually and then we've never done anything about that.
Right. But here's the thing, like, yes, I think some of that stuff will come out. I think it's a look forward, not back scenario, though. Right? Like, I think it's going to be like, here, I want to show you guys a couple of things just so you know that I am for real. But I'm not going to send Obama to jail. I'm not going to spend billions of tax dollars investigating what's happened in the past. We can only move forward. Like, let's make sure that this shit's not continuously happening.
there's danger to do what I think conservatives have always done. I feel like conservatives have been comfortable losing fair and square, and Democrats will win at all costs. And the proposition of having a Kennedy and Trump in the office and, you know, essentially getting to the bottom of some of the you know, biggest state secrets we have or things that have been kept secret to the American public is, to me, is huge. And it was one of the, you mentioned the team. It was one of the reasons I was most excited about the team was Robert Kennedy. And I mean, the idea of him coming in and just cleaning house and getting to the bottom of who killed his uncle and his dad is, I mean, and then you have Trump, who just got shot at a couple times. So I hope he's motivated to figure out. Like, I don't think it was that autistic kid.
Hold on a second. What do we got going on down there, buddy?
Something with your audio system.
What? What do you mean?
Check your phone and send you a text about it. Picture of it. I don't know what happened. It just popped up.
Hold on here a second, guys. Let's see what we got.
We will have to edit this part out.
Yeah, I was going to ask over under the number of times you think Trump's going to get shot at again in the next, what?
Oh, just click
2 months?
Just click no.
How do I get into your Wi-Fi? I get no
Here,
signal.
hold on a second. Let me go check this.
So
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
the Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992. So that's that was Oliver Stone's doing right after the JFK movie and all of his advocating and such. So while Trump was in office during his first term would have been the release date for everything. So that was in 2017. So in theory, enough people would be gone and dead. And we talked a little bit about this before on a prior podcast where our federal government could release everything. And we know there's shit and there's stuff they won't say. And they say it's in the interest of national security. That's an internal thing. And I think like the news with Kennedy is so damaging as far as, you know, government manipulation and all of that stuff, right? That they're going to release that. Like, this is not national security. Like, oh, well, the Russians, you know, we don't want them knowing this information. They don't want us tearing each other apart
Right.
when they hear this is what that is. But I think, to your point, I think that he's got to come in and he's got to do something because he ran on this, and a lot of people want that. Like, you know, we want to know what the fuck's going on with these UFOs, what's going on
Didn't
with
we
this
have
stuff.
a release of that? Was it 2 years ago?
I got to tell you
heavily
guys,
redacted.
I don't believe in the alien thing. Sorry, guys.
I don't care. We have so much other crazy
Yeah.
shit
There's
going
way
on
other
our
shit.
own.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
I said
the aliens are
UFOs.
real. I feel like that was a
I said
psyop.
UFOs. I didn't say
No,
aliens.
Time travelers. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Time travel. Now that'd be fucking sweet.
Well, there's one infallible way of knowing that time travel will never be possible, and that is we'd already know about it because they would have come back and told us.
Yeah.
Like, didn't you see Back to the Future? This is kind of basic stuff, guys.
How funny is it that movie is like 40 years old now, and it's
Oh,
still,
my God.
it's still like
You're lying.
All time.
like every time you're watching like anything that has to do with time travel, like they always are like somebody's always like
21 gigawatts.
like Back to the Future, like yeah, just like that. They knew what they were doing or whatever.
First of all, we can all agree that Avengers Endgame was an amazing movie, but fuck them for talking shit on Back to the Future. I was ready to fight somebody in that theater that day. They were like, so Back to the Future's all bullshit. I'm like, no, the fuck it's not. How dare you?
Oh, God! I miss fucking that portion of Marvel. Like now, it's just I can't even watch Marvel shit anymore. I lost interest after the Avengers are over. Like it's like, what else is there to live for?
What did South Park do? It was like, what you made a really good character strong? Make her gay and black.
How to ruin any good movie or television show.
What's that?
How to ruin any good movie or television show.
Yeah, definitely. All right, here let's go on to the next announcement. This was his transgender announcements. Did anybody listen to any of those?
No, but you have my attention.
Yeah. So cease all government programs that promote gender transition at any age. Stop taxpayer dollars from promoting or paying for surgeries. Investigate Big Pharma to see if they have deliberately covered up long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich.
Yeah.
Positive info on the nuclear family, only recognize male and female. That was a big one.
Assigned
'cause he
at
plainly-
birth.
Yes,
Assigned
at birth, only recognize male or female. And revoke gender-affirming care that currently allows for surgeries for minors. We can get into a lot of that stuff. I think everybody knows how I feel about transgender. But only recognize male or female. You know, for everybody out there that wants to complain about that aspect, because there's a lot of that going on right now in social media. You know, every day somebody could create a new gender at the way things are. Furry, trans man, cis man, trans woman.
Apache
I
helicopter.
don't even know which ones are which, to be honest with you.
Z and Zer.
I don't. Yeah. Pronouns: this, them, they, here, her, whatever. Look, all you're doing is making shit more complicated. It's like 70 million people voted for Kamala Harris because they thought that their kids weren't going to have the choice to kill babies, right? They wanted women's rights, but we can't even, like, when you're talking about 7 different trans or genders and you're talking about this and that, like, there's just no way to do that, you know? And I can't wait till we get to, I'm sure everybody's seen all kinds of crazy reactions on Facebook this week, but, you know, one of the ones that I saw was, you know, like, what are you going to do? Tell them they can't use the bathroom? Well, no, they can use their bathroom. Like, I don't want a grown man going into my daughter's bathroom to stand up and piss next to her because he's wearing a skirt. Now, is that the 1% of what actually happens? I don't know, because I don't stand in there and check everybody's fucking pants before they take a leak. But I could tell you that there's only like 1.6% of the population is transgender. So why the fuck are we making rules that fucking benefit them and specific to them? Like, and then the rest of us,
everybody else.
yeah, the 99% of us have to be like on guard. Like, I know there's somebody I'm a little confused about at my local Starbucks. So what if I call him sir? Does that mean they could get mad at me if they want to be a her? And what if I call her her, but it's not a
I was just
sir?
gonna say, there's a great video on there.
You know, like, I don't know what to do. I'm just like, okay, thank you. And like every part of me that wants to be like, sir, and just see what happens. You know, but it's like, if there's more than 2 genders, then why do you have to change your fucking name? if you go from a guy to a girl, why does your name have to change to be more of a girl name? Because that makes no fucking sense if there's no genders. Like, the whole scenario doesn't make any sense. I'm glad that they're going to do something about it. I hope they're going to do something about it. Most of all, I hope people just stop fucking doing it to the kids.
For anybody that is trying to get offended right now, let's see if we can help you a little more here. My feeling on this is you're either a male, you're a female, or you're something else. So, and something else should cover intersex, which is a biological condition. Okay, fine. You're born with both parts. Okay, great. But literally at birth, you should be able to identify.
Pick one, 50-50 chance.
50-50 shot, right? I mean, yeah, the whole, it's everything else beyond those three things are gender dysmorphia, and that needs to be treated with, I would say psychotherapist more so than a surgery or anything else. And, I'm not a parent, but like I have a violent reaction when I think of men competing in women's sports or men using, or males using females' bathrooms. And like this, I mean, I see this as a positive thing, big time. Like, especially then looking at liability with the pharmas for this, like that's huge.
Well, Grayson, I know you got a son. He's in high school.
Yeah.
Have you had any experience, or had you had conversations with him? Has he asked you questions? Like, has that ever come up?
Yes. So, he can probably be a little bit more outspoken than me at times, so he's a very free thinker, and, he doesn't take their shit. I can remember in ninth grade, I think it was ninth grade, when he was just coming into high school, there was a because that would have been like the height of COVID, right? When they're all going back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you remember how much of a mess that was. Yeah. But there was a survey sent out, and it had to do with, what should I call you on day one? How do you identify? And he's like, he's asking me to help him fill it out. But as he's gotten older, he and I talk quite a bit. We have some good laughs about it, but he holds his ground, and he doesn't take their shit, man. And it's pretty cool to see that he kind of moves that way.
Well, you're at a point in age too, because you say he's in the high school now. Like, I mean, you're teaching somebody to be an adult. And I think a lot of these things that are out there where you're forcing them to rethink everything they've been taught their whole lives because it fits somebody's agenda or whatever the case might be, like, it defeats the purpose of being a parent in a sense, right? Like, I'm sorry, like if my kid comes to me and we talked about this before I made the joke, like, they want to play it with dolls. Okay, look at Barbie's tits, but you're never going to wear a dress because you're a dude. And if my daughter wants to go out and play in the mud and play with trucks and dirt bikes and things like that, like, heck yeah, I want her to do that. But that doesn't mean she has to question her sexuality because somebody tells her that that's not okay. If you're a guy, or if you're not a girl, if you do this or whatever the case might be. I hope they make a big deal on it. We talked about free speech earlier, but part of the thing that he wanted with free speech was he wanted to prevent from, anything that's bad for children on social media. I think that's one of those things where it's like social media tries to make transgenderism so cool, tries to make gay or bi and all these. There's like 52 different sexual preferences now, like all this stuff. I mean, shit. Somebody in California wanted to fucking call pedophilia a fucking, what do they want to call it? Like love with young people.
Yeah, they had
minor attracted or something like that.
That's what it was. Minor attracted. Yeah, they're trying to
minor
soften.
attracted. Yeah, they're trying to soften.
Yeah,
like, what the
exactly
fuck
what
are we doing? Like, no, it's just not okay. So as these kids get older, I think that it just makes things a lot more harder.
It's in all the movies and the TV and everything now, which is it sucks. You're checking out a good show and things are going good, and they're like, oh, now we're just gonna introduce the trans but also lesbian some days, but on Wednesdays she's black, and you know these weird characters in the movie that like, and that's, I mean, it's infiltrated everywhere, and it's like, and now again, live and let live. If you want to be a weirdo,
Yep, agreed.
or if you think that, you know, what we may call as a weirdo is your regular life, that's fine. We accept you, we love you, but it doesn't need to be in TV. It doesn't need to be in children's anything to have to do with children.
Shouldn't have nothing
ever.
to do with children. Teachers shouldn't be talking about it.
No.
100%. And the fact that like there's even discussions out there about that being an elected surgery that a minor could do. Absolutely
Fuck
not.
no.
You know what I mean? Because that brought up that one part of this where, you know, is Big Pharma hiding negative reporting on, you know, what's going on with these? Are they deliberately covering it up because sex change is the next big dollar toy, so to say? And of course they are.
Absolutely.
Why would they hid shit about fucking how addictive Oxy was for years while they made billions and killed thousands and thousands of people and created what we now have as the opioid pandemic that's lasted years and years, and who knows if it's ever going to go away. Of course they're hiding negative results around transgender because guess what? That's a drug that you could buy over the counter, basically. Hormones, right? You can get knockoff. Like there's just so much out there that you can get, and if you could get it prescribed and it's part of an insurance plan, well, shit.
Well, the realities of the whole thing are so dark and so dystopian that I feel like the natural reaction of a lot of people was first, I think, oh, that's not really happening to kids. They're not really doing that to kids. That's not really a thing. But then, I mean, I have substantially younger brothers, and they had a friend that was identifying as, changed their name, et cetera, and I mean, you change your mind and as a kid on what you want to be, on what you want to do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And the idea,
it's a fad.
the idea that you mentioned social media, and whether or not social media leads to that, there is certainly an agenda to promote it on television, in social media, in our government. I mean, you get shadow banned or censored for talking negatively about the trans agenda on social media, and the idea that the whole nation needs to cater to a fringe or shift their whole behavior to cater to a fringe is absurd in and of itself. But then when you're talking about doing it to kids, it's so, I mean, like the image, like you can see the images of and they are mutilating children.
It's not like you could reverse it.
The people that were doing these surgeries should have been going to prison a long time ago, and the only justification for why it was going on is financial. Other than it's just another way for us to not have kids, because all of their policies lead to us having less kids, and less of us.
Agreed.
It's hard to reproduce, I think, once you do that to yourself.
I think you and David hit it really hard on the head there. It's one thing for you to tell me, okay, this is what I want to do, and it's your life and it affects nobody else. Okay, cool. Like, do your thing, cut off your penis, whatever. But it's one thing. But it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to be like, no, you have to believe it too, and you have to affirm and validate my things. And I'm like, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
They should just make a commercial, be like, hey kids, do you want to have elective surgery to become a woman? No problem. And with like a big old set of like garden shears with like a 20-inch blade.
Oh my God.
Come down to the doctor's office. We'll take care of that right now. We'll snip that thing off and sew it closed, and you could piss to your asshole the rest of your life. It'll be awesome.
Well, they're led to believe the opposite. That's like empathy. If you do that for them, if you provide that service for them, that you're helping them, and that they're somehow not. I think they always quote suicide. That they're somehow keeping these kids from killing themselves if you let them trans themselves. And I mean, I think the reality.
Well, it's the opposite, though.
And
I think everything's pretty much shown that you know, most of the suicides are taking place after the surgeries
there's
are
certainly
taken.
a lot of second guessing after you do that to yourself. I don't know how.
How would there not be?
What
How
was
would there
that
not
scene
be?
in Step Brothers where the dad was talking to the kid and says, "Yeah, I used to walk around with my arms like this and pretend like I was a velociraptor." And did my dad tell me, you do what you want? And he said, "No, knock that shit off. You can be a doctor."
The problem, if you think back to like, when we were kids, and like, I knock on wood, like I've never broken a major bone in my body, like just a finger and a toe here and there. But like, when you know, we've all had friends, or maybe you guys have broken your arm and you come to school with a cast on it, and then what happens? Like, everybody wants to sign your cast, right? And you get all that attention,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And then, not saying that anybody went out and intentionally broke their arms, but like, when you're a kid, you thrive on it. A healthy kid thrives on attention, right? So I've always thought about that. As adults, you break your arm, you're like, well, fuck, I guess I'm sending emails with one hand. Like, you view it through a different lens as an adult. You have to jerk off with the other one. I'm ambidextrous, so, there's no stranger for me. It's I got that from my mom. Thanks, Mom. No, but, so I think about this in the same fashion. If like there's one kid who, let's just let them grow up how they want. And, the kid was adopted by, two married lesbians living in Santa Monica where, it's okay to be different, Joey. We adopted you from Somalia. And if you feel like you're a girl at 7 years old, okay, well, that's fine that you feel like you're a girl. In fact, we'll start getting you medication that'll make you feel more like a girl. Well, little Joey may have heard that from somebody at school. It'd be the same kid who probably would go hurt himself because he saw that, you get attention when you're hurt, which is what some children do, right? Babies cry for attention, right? So that's, I think, a really, really dangerous thing. So the announcement about, and that was it. He ran on this as part of his platform. I went back and watched his video from a year ago, Trump's video. He ran on this exact thing. This is day number 1. That's an executive order. So that's already in the can, ready to be signed like the day of, which, again, I don't have a dog in the hunt on this one, but I do have a very strong animosity for anybody that hurts children. And I think this hurts children.
Well, and it goes back to that common sense, right? I mean, it's common sense. It doesn't sound like a good idea.
Right.
Like, what parent wants to do that to their 13-year-old kid? Like, their life's over.
Yeah.
You can't change anything about it.
Well, and that's what takes you to like, why are they, why is it so forced, right? Well, it really just comes back to votes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was all about the votes. They were trying to, swing as many people that way through all these goofy ass, things that are very, very hurtful to, the average person, the children. And you can't tell me if you would get those people, a lot of them, that push the narratives, if you would get them into a normal situation without an influencer or another government official, standing there listening, there's no way they buy into this shit, right? Not all of them, maybe some of them, but I just, back to the deep state stuff, they got so much dirt on these people. These are evil, evil people. And I don't know. You look at Hollywood. I mean, look at why are a lot of these people having these mental breakdowns, these stars and all that. What dirt do they have on them? How were they treated when they were younger? Were they at these elitist parties? Was that kind of the toy, the 8-year-old? You know what I mean?
Like who knows what's gonna? I hope that Diddy party shit comes out.
Well, didn't they come out with it recently of who was that gentleman from Nickelodeon? Well, not gentleman, but that guy from Nickelodeon where he caused a lot of problems, like from the Jake Draw specifically.
You talking about Pee-wee Herman?
No, it was one of the directors off of Nickelodeon, one of the producers that caused a lot. Like, he was a pedophile, and he was one that really messed up that Josh from Drake from Drake and Josh.
Oh yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, and it was, and like to the point where like they were trying to protect the younger stars from him because he was essentially Epstein of Nickelodeon.
Dan Schneider.
I think they say the Nickelodeon logo looks like
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon.
I mean, Nickelodeon's work.
That's
I'm
the
not
word.
gonna say it wrong.
I was trying to pull up some of these reactions I had this week on Facebook. I love looking at the comments that people leave, and I got into a couple of arguments with some people. I tried to but I think they deleted everything. It appears so.
Before you jump into that, I was just going to talk about the Hollywood thing. I grew up in L.A. I grew up a nice middle class family in L.A. Sorry.
My mom worked really hard.
Oh wait, no wait, this is Kamala. Yeah, bruh, I grew up in L.A. and we were middle class. No, but I went to school with musicians and celebs and wannabe actors and a lot of exposure to that. And I think the short answer, I guess being in the business of acting, you're transforming yourself into someone else, right? And there's a certain amount of losing your own identity. And then there's the adornment of fans, which is a dopamine rush. Like imagine, it feels good when you post a selfie and when you're feeling good and you get 100 likes, unless you're Anthony, you get
Speaking
like
of
200.
likes, make sure you like the show.
Yeah.
Comment below how awesome this show is as well.
Please do.
I mean, I was
Share
in
to
a
all your
movie,
friends,
but-
subscribe. All right, go back to Hollywood.
But, so if you imagine, the sensation you get when you get 100 likes on a selfie and, if you make it big in Hollywood, like that's a pretty big rush. And it's probably at the levels of, a heroin addiction, and you're going to chase that forever. And then you're going to do whatever it takes to get that and keep getting that for most of them.
I was an background extra in the movie, and I mean, just these guys that were just
They're kind of a big deal.
No,
Was that a Diddy movie party?
no. The movie was called Judas and the Black Messiah, actually. So, yeah, it was filmed in Cleveland, and actually
Artsy.
it picked me up at picked me up.
Wow, this is sounding really Hollywood. Now what happened?
No, I was at the Dusty, and they're like, "Hey, we really like your look," and I'm like, "This is the weirdest opening line I ever heard." But go on, you can compliment me. But I was a background extra for this movie.
He would have
and-
totally sucked dick to be in a fucking movie. You could
I
just
did
hear it in
not.
his
That was
voice
not
right
it.
now. They're like, "This is it, guys. We got him. We got one."
we got it.
So you're saying that you're not a virgin on the backside is what you're saying then?
I mean, I think we've all taken big enough poops. We don't feel like virgins on the backside. I feel like nobody here is like that. We're men. But there was a bunch of other extras for this group that we're in, and they were all minor mammals and people trying to get involved with it. And just to get the amount of fighting they would do to get that little extra screen time possibility from different angles, like it was an obsession with them. And I don't know, the director just liked my look for some reason. They're like, "Oh, we'll put you back here." And so the guys were like trying to get buddy with me after this, that they didn't give a shit about me beforehand. And I was like, "Dude, I'm graduating my engineering degree. I don't give a shit about any of this. They're paying me $10 an hour to do nothing."
Yeah,
Like,
right. Damn, $10 an hour, man.
Yeah, and they fed me. And I was like, "Oh, sweet."
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, here, since we're talking about California, let's go into this next announcement. I want to get through the rest of these tonight. Trump on homelessness. A lot of points. Did you guys hear this one at all? Did you guys go through or hear any of these actually?
Is it
And
killed them all?
It's actually really tough to find them. I couldn't find them on YouTube. I had to find them on Twitter or on True Social.
I didn't see the homeless one. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, so this was pretty interesting because this is a problem that I frankly, I think billions are wasted on it, and it only makes the problem worse. But so homeless will no longer have the right to camp or live inside the cities. They were going to restrict that because it restricts the right and the safety of our law-abiding and working citizens. People shouldn't have to step over needles, feces, see drug dealers dealing drugs, or people doing drugs on the side of the street when you're walking around a city. It's unsafe. He wants to get them off the streets. He wants to offer them care and opportunity and help. And we'll go over some of that stuff. So, a small fraction of funding for Ukraine could completely end veteran homelessness. I thought that was interesting how he said that, because he made it sound like we could just take the money that we're giving Ukraine and end veteran homelessness, which he promises to take. He promises to do. So, I'm assuming that's going to be a quick step that he's going to put together. Get short-term people that need short-term hope. People that are short-term homelessness, meaning they just lost their job, can't afford their house or stuff like that. He wants to do what they can to offer them support to get back into a normal life. If they need long-term help, or they just don't want the help at all, or have a severe mental disorder, they want to either put those people in mental hospitals, or they're going to buy large parcels of inexpensive land and offer doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, and drug rehab specialists in these tent cities. So basically, the tent cities that are already in the major cities, they're going to take them and move them out to the sticks. And
Hesperia.
yeah, Hesperia. You can put a few of them out there. But it sounds like he wants to put help out there, right? And he's like, look, I'm not promising anything, but I'm going to try. I like the way that he worded that, because I don't think there's anything that you could do to solve the problem. I think there's a lot of people that collect big paychecks that are supposed to be doing that already, especially in California, and they're not. So the fact that he's actually going to try and put it up there, that's one thing. And, you know, he finishes off by saying, look, you know, it sounds like we want to do a lot, which we do. They're American people. They need our help. It's vastly cheaper than what we're doing currently, which is giving them a bunch of free food and setting them up in expensive hotels and stuff. And it'll also generate more business for those local communities that they're overwhelmed with homeless right now. So, yeah, that was the Trump homeless announcement. I think there might have been a couple other things in there that I didn't write down, but.
You mentioned the war in Ukraine funding and how that could benefit our homeless. I mean, the amount of money we spend on foreign wars and foreign countries is insane, and it should be, if not illegal, it should be stopped. But I also heard that Kamala Harris spent $1 billion on her campaign and wound up $20 million in debt.
Yeah, I heard that today too.
And then you
I
think
haven't
about what
looked
this
into that.
position pays. So clearly there are other perks to the job. There's other things, you know, and I mean, it's just a tremendously powerful position. But money is certainly better spent here than overseas. And like the tent cities that you have in like San Francisco or just the inner cities being unsafe for the average Joe to walk around is a problem, and it shouldn't just be accepted. And you know, I mean, and then the people that do need help or are want help, you know, should be afforded that.
Yeah, and the other, I mean, we put a lot of people in prison for dumber shit, but if we have mental health facilities and we create these homeless encampments, if they want to live that life, allow them to do so without impeding my life, right? Like my wife and I went to Oahu for the first time 2 years ago. Least favorite island by far because it's so overpopulated and the cities are overrun by homeless. Like there's naked people just walking down the street, so coked out of their or so cracked out of their mind. Like amphetamines are so bad out there. And even, you know, the Big Island, which is so far, it's one of those islands where everything's so spread out. Like you just have these pockets of people that are just so tweaked out of their fucking mind. They're sleeping on the streets and stuff like that. I mean, you're talking about a tourist destination. Like you said, people go there to visit, get away from that. And, you know, you can't even, like, look at our state capital, you know, look at San Francisco, unless the leader of China's visiting and then all of a sudden they clean it up. But it's like, how do you expect people to live in the city when that, like, you're not sending your kid to the bus stop in this inner city if they're passing 25 to 30 homeless people sitting on the side of the street that you don't know what they're doing or who. It's just it needs to be solved. It needs to at least be attempted to really try and do something about it, put a dent in it, I guess you would say. And you're right. Like we send billions and billions of dollars to foreign countries for aid when our own country is hurting. I'm hoping that's going to be a big target of the Trump organization.
The top 5 homeless populated states, California, of course, is at the top, and Texas is at number 5. So just going in reverse order, Texas has 27,000 unhoused people. It's the that would be the PC word for it. Washington, D.C. is 28,000. Florida is 30,000. Now let's talk about some legit numbers here. Who do you think number 2 is?
Someplace warm.
No,
It's not someplace warm.
You already
said
named
easy
Texas.
answer.
God, I would have guessed Texas, but
Pennsylvania?
no, I
No?
will say. Fuck, actually, I don't know. I thought California, maybe Washington or Oregon.
You're missing the obvious answer.
So number 2 would be New York.
Oh, jeez. How did I not think of New York?
103,000 homeless
but
people.
that doesn't. I want to say California's like 190.
Why don't we just recruit them
That's
all into
pretty-
the military? I don't understand.
that's
They
a-
have nothing else to do.
That's a pretty good, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel the real numbers got to be higher between migrants and everything because a certain amount of migrants end up homeless as well.
Sure.
But yeah, the number on record is 181,000 people. So basically half the population of Iceland
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. Well, in Los Angeles in the Bay, like around LA in the Bay is where they're congregated.
Oh, up north, San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy too. Like New York and California. Like if you're not from the United States, if you're a foreigner, like Los Angeles and New York City are the it.
Yeah.
And those cities are destroyed by homeless. So like when you talk about like I've talked about it before, going to London, Paris, these different countries in Europe. Paris, it was a little bit of a shithole. Kind of reminded me of California. But London, not so much. It's like this is like where people are coming to visit because you're known. You're America. Like we want to come to see New York City.
Yeah.
You can't walk around down New York City and be safe.
No.
Like it's
Yeah.
insane down there right now.
Trump was really passionate, I think, about really, a lot of his messages I heard, and I was voting for him no matter what. But, we're bringing the money back. We're going to clean up our own people. We're going to take care of our own. You know what I mean? Enough. We've seen enough with, the money going, big money
Yeah.
going to, the obvious Ukraine. But that's what I heard the most out of with Trump and his team. Not just homelessness, right? But a lot of the policies are we're going to take care of our own people. We're going to make it secure. We're going to get these people off the streets. We're going to get them into the working community. He was very, very heartfelt, outspoken about New York City. When he said, 40 years ago when I started in business, or whatever it was, New York City, to your point, right, was the place to be. This is where everybody wanted to come, was New York City because of everything that it had to offer. And he said it's quite frankly, it's a dump when you walk around there.
Sure.
And so that's what I like the most about his message and the rest of his team that he's building is a lot of it it falls in line with his general messages. We're going to take care of our own, and I really think. And what about veterans? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, holy shit! I just can't get over what has happened, and hence I think this is why we got the massive swing. That's why it was too big to rig. Right, is because people started to see through it, and they were starting to get personally affected. Right, you hear a lot more people coming out now going, that got COVID vaccines that are like, yeah, I mean, my dad died of cancer or whatever.
Cancer.
Yeah, I mean, we go on and on, but I think people the holes started to naturally get poked in it, right, and people the logic started to come back, and anyway.
Well, it's interesting because you talk about the reactions this week, and some of the fucking reactions on social media by
The meltdowns.
like, oh my god, they're fucking crazy.
Why do they all film?
I wish I could. I wish I could.
That's what's
I do.
confusing to me. Like,
So I wanted to show this video, and I was gonna have the computer hooked up. But did you guys see the woman that was on Twitter or TikTok or whatever? Lives of TikTok. You guys watch them at all? They repost some great stuff.
I don't believe in TikTok.
But they posted this woman. She's like, if you're a white male and I see you down the street at night, I'm gonna buy a Glock just so I could shoot you. Hold on, I'm gonna play this because it's just fucking.
She says like we don't have Glocks of our own already. Like I don't.
Listen to this. Hold on.
I would go as far to say that I would purchase a Glock, and if you and I are walking on the same street and it's dark out and you're a white male, you have to be white for this to count, okay? If you're a white male, even if you don't approach me,
Why do
I
they
will
hate
shoot you.
themselves so
Yeah,
much?
I know. So
Yeah, I know. Like, what the fuck?
Is she going to be in jail at some point?
So
in
it's
time?
funny because everybody replayed it and like tagged like fucking hashtag FBI or whatever or at FBI. But it was just like one of those things. Like, so anyhow, you talk about like stuff like that because there's a lot of that out there. Apparently, there's been 27 suicides. Which for anybody listening to the show, let me tell you something. I don't care who's president. It's not worth killing yourself over.
No, it is not.
There's so many people that like I'm sure you guys all saw on Facebook. At least one, if not somehow I have like 6 fucking people on my Facebook that I'm friends with that are like, I feel bad for your children and their children's children.
Oh my gosh.
They lost all their rights. Your wife lost all her
Your
rights.
granddaughter's gonna love it.
And I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? They're like, they can't kill babies anymore. I mean, they didn't say it like that. They were like, they don't care about women's rights. I'm like, oh my God. For the nth time, one, he said he would not support a national fucking abortion ban. Watch the fucking news. Look it up. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is not going to create a national abortion ban. He got what he wanted, which was to put the power in the states. And we're going to talk about some other stuff he's going to put in the states later, because really, government should not be in control of everything for the entire United States. You should not have everything handled out of D.C. One, it eliminates thousands of jobs that you could be placing out all over the country. Two, nobody can handle that. Like, you need to be able to delegate that shit. And like big projects such as this should be delegated to the states so that they can control it on their own based off of the wishes of their people. Because I tell you what, people in Texas obviously feel different than people in Ohio, which obviously feel different than people in California, et cetera, et cetera. So he never said he's going to support a national abortion ban. Nobody has. He's actually, to most Republicans' point of view, is actually softer on the subject. If anything, you should be thankful that they voted for Donald Trump. And this is how I responded to every single one of them. Actually, I'm very excited for my daughters and my wife, because hopefully they're going to walk down safer streets with less illegal immigrants. They'll be able to afford food, afford safer areas to live in because of the things that are going to change. I'm not worried about them being able to have a fucking abortion. And so that starts an argument. And then another argument that I had, like, I don't like the idea that they say, look, men have no say in abortion rights. But a man who doesn't want to take part in his child's life is a deadbeat. So should we just start labeling all women that want to have abortions as deadbeats? Would that make everybody look at that a little bit differently? Because, you know, by the way, guysnight.com, check out the shirt. You know, my wallet, my choice. Like, you can claim that it's a woman's right to have an abortion, then why can't it be a man's right to not necessarily support that child or that woman? Right.
Oh, wait, this just in from Evan. He said the women should be called beat deads in that situation where they do abortions.
But, you know, it's one of those things where everybody's rushing to this. Like, that's what they got out of this whole movement. And you said it. I think you said it as well. Like, he wants to make it great for everybody in this country. Like, he wants to make it safer. He wants to make it healthier. He wants to make it more affordable. He wants to make it a more exciting place to go. I don't know if you guys heard the big plan, because it's going to be 250 years we've been a country in 3 years. Did you guys know that? So he's planning on, he wants to have like a year where every state throws different celebrations for the 250th year anniversary. And then I think it's Iowa has like the original Iowa State fairgrounds that have been closed for some time. He wants to open them and have like some huge like world event where he invites leaders from other countries and stuff to come while we celebrate our 250th anniversary. Like, that is exciting. Like, can we stop talking about all this negative shit and like start talking about things that are good for our people and good for our country and good for our culture?
On the abortion thing, and you know, hey, I'll disclose, I'm a pro-choice guy. I voted red, but I'm a pro-choice guy. I'm not a religious guy. So with all of that said, to your point, the federal government, well, let me rewind even further back. The one that I love to hear is like, they're infringing on our rights. There is no such thing as a right to abortion. It doesn't exist. It's an elective surgery. It's not health care.
100%.
That's the end of the argument there. It's not a right. It's a decision. It's an elective surgery. That's it. And end of story. Yes, there was precedent-setting case law, which was clearly flawed, because people that are more intelligent than us and all of you people out there in the world that are complaining and arguing about
thousands of listeners that we have.
Yes, like there are people with much more experience, legal experience in this. And yeah, after 53 years, Roe v. Wade was changed. And this is not something that Donald Trump did. This is not anything that, you know, a politician did per se. You know, they put it back into the state's hands, and really it's in the voters' hands. So you know, if you don't like how those decisions are being made, well, go vote differently, or go move somewhere next to people that are voting like you. Like,
Well,
you have options.
And the funny thing is obviously, for those who don't know, we live in Ohio. Most of the people that I'm talking about also live in Ohio.
Yeah.
They just spent last year getting a law changed in Ohio, and they got what they wanted. What the fuck are we even talking about? Why are
Right.
you even bringing this up right
Yeah,
now? Like,
exactly.
It's so crazy to
Yeah.
me.
It could rain tomorrow too. Should we talk about that? We have no control over that either. Like,
I hope
you know,
not. I got to put up my Christmas lights tomorrow.
No, hold up. It's not even Thanksgiving yet.
Yeah, you
run that
put
shit
Christmas.
back.
Okay, first of all, you put Christmas lights up when it's fucking warm outside. Because let me tell you, in Ohio, day
sucks.
after Thanksgiving, it could be 5 degrees and 6 inches of snow on the ground, and you're stuck on a fucking ladder 40 feet up in the air. So I ordered a bucket truck, and I'm fucking putting up the permanent Govee lights this year. So I'm gonna ever do it again.
I hope your radio only plays Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas" for the next month and a half.
I'm more of a Ariana Grande. Santa's coming.
Oh, Santa, tell me, that's a good song.
Yeah,
that's
a good song. Yeah.
yeah, the Ariana Grande, Santa's definitely coming.
Oh my god.
All right, what about you guys? After election thoughts on Facebook, social media. I don't know if you guys have like seen what's going on out there or heard anything.
You mentioned the abortion topic. Well, it's so dystopian that they were literally campaigning on essentially abortion as reproductive rights, which is really a misnomer. But like, I don't know. You've probably realized this at some point in time. As a man, you're not supposed to have an opinion on that subject unless you're pro-choice.
Right.
Some of the most fervent hate I've ever received online was for being pro-choice or saying something remotely
At all about it at all.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. One time a guy made a comment that he had never met someone who was super pro-choice who had not had an abortion themselves, and he's like major coping mechanism. And I replied something like, "My body, my choice" as a mantra sounds better than murder if you repeat it over and over again. And for weeks, I was getting retweets from women that were like, "I can murder anything that's in my body without my permission," and all this stuff. And it was like, oh my God. So as a man, you're not even supposed to have an opinion on that, which is so crazy because allegedly we live in a patriarchy where the men aren't supposed to have any say-so in the life or death of their unborn child. It's crazy.
Insane. Meanwhile,
However,
we're fighting for equal rights.
Right.
Because women think they don't have equal rights.
That being said, it is not politically beneficial. It would not have been for Trump to campaign on, I'm going to have an abortion ban. Regardless of what you feel about abortion or not, that it would not have been in his interest to get reelected to say something like that. But it is a testament to our society that these women are so fervently defending their right to exterminate their unborn child. And similar to the trans, and certainly the trans youth movement, when you start to look into the realities of abortion, it's so sick. I think for the first time ever, we surpassed 1 million abortions conducted in a year.
Well,
we aborted 1 million babies in like 2023.
It's crazy too because they talk about how health, rape, incest. They talk about all the exceptions.
Amount. It's a minuscule amount.
1.8% of abortions happen due to rape, incest, or medical.
Where did you pull that from? I mean, I believe the statistics. You're right. It might even be less than that. I know specifically off of Planned Parenthood itself, they actually keep track of the number of.
I can't remember what it was off of, but I don't have it in front of
It's
me. But if
minimum
you
like
Google it,
65%.
if you Google it, there's like fucking a dozen things out there that all had less than 2% overall was because of those reasons.
Yeah. And like 65% minimum is elective.
It's more
to
than
not
that.
want a
Well,
child.
it was like 42% were economical reasons, and then the big thing that was, or no, I'm sorry, it was 22% were economical reasons.
Condoms are
big
$10
thing-
a pack. Come
well,
on.
here's the disgusting
my
thing of it.
atrocious.
42%. I don't know. And this is the number I remember. 42% of abortions in 2023 were the woman's second or more.
Oh, boy.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Saw that.
like at that point, like you're not talking about all the things. And here's the other crazy part about it: the women that are making the biggest deal about it are moms with like 2 or 3 kids. And I'm like,
Or they can't have
you wouldn't have
kids
had an abortion.
anymore.
You're literally obsessed with this because you think it's some woman's right that she could fucking do this. You would never actually do it. Why are you focused on this? Why is this a point of content? And why the fuck is it part of our fucking presidential election? Like that's not it's nothing I want to even discuss. We have way fucking bigger problems than you being able to fucking coat hanger yourself.
So my favorite out of this entire argument has to do with The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, gosh.
Have any of you watched this?
No, are you talking about the red dress women or whatever?
Yeah.
I never watched it.
It's an interesting dystopian film.
It's like
It
the
is-
one literary
serious.
reference they use.
It's I kind of got roped into it and I found it interesting, but the short, in my opinion, or from my view, the plot is something happens in the world biologically or theologically that impacts fertility. And so, like the human beings that we are, we adapt. Like for some reason, only certain females are fertile. And so literally like populations are breaking down worldwide and we're losing numbers and we're staring at our own existence,
Extinction.
Extinction. Thank you. Sponsored by Evan Williams. But anyway, so when you watch this, like they tell you that story right up front because they're showing, like they're touring you through a hospital and the hospital is like bustling until they get to the nursery and it's almost empty and it's like a miracle that kids are being born. So they start the story off and they're telling you that something has happened, whether it got in our food or what, they just don't know. Like they're just figuring it out as they go along. Okay, so it's really interesting. It's like an end of times kind of mixed in with some, geopolitics and everything. When you go online and you go searching for any information about it, including the plot summary, it's all been rewritten. So I'm on Wikipedia right now. And so when you start at background or even in the plot summary, it just goes immediately into this whole thing of, well, they staged a coup and took over the government all to control women and control who they can reproduce with. And when you watch the movie, there's some pretty graphic scenes because there's some women who are not willing to go along with it.
Sure.
And they literally, there's certain men that they choose to have. So it's a really fucked up story all the way around, but it's nowhere near. It's been after the success of the show, they've kind of rewritten the narrative of it to fit this argument of this is what's going to happen. Like this is what the Republicans are after. They want to literally pin women down and force them to have babies and blah, 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 blah. So my biggest...
What did Whoopi say? She's like, they're going to make you leave your interracial relationship and they're going to put you with a white guy.
Oh my God.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm a white guy. You're going to stick me with some fucking crazy chick?
Don't threaten me. I don't know why would you say that. to me.
I don't want to know. We're good. Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I would say to all of you people out there who have shared anything having to do with Margaret Atwood's masterpiece here, my favorite is, the middle finger in the air from, with the whole get up on and everything. This is fiction. The rest of us are living in the real world. This is fiction, and maybe go back and watch. And I who knows? Maybe they even changed the beginning of the whole series. I don't know. That's entirely possible too. I'll take that on as a homework assignment. But
Respectfully, I've seen a lot of the liberal women claiming that they don't let us have abortions, don't have sex with them. Please don't. I've seen you. I don't want it.
Yeah, are they shaving their heads and threatening to withhold sex? And it's like...
Your armpits have more hair in them than my ass. Like, don't do that. I don't need that. That's...
And also, finally, maybe just be responsible. If you don't want to have
like
kids,
the easiest thing.
be responsible.
That seems like the easiest thing. I remember being like 14, 15 years old. Like, I know what I'm not going to do. I have a fucking baby.
Yeah.
I knew the consequences, when I, start, after high school, whatever, that if it happened, God forbid, but if it did happen, that's my life now. That child is my life that I'm supposed to raise because that's my responsibility as a man and as a father.
Yeah, and listen, I understand things happen, and I'm look, I guess I'm coming off like I'm not the 100%. You must have, you must not have an abortion. Like I'm not 100% pro-life, but I'm not 100% pro-choice either. I think the biggest thing is like putting it is it used to be looked at as taboo. Like you didn't want to have an abortion. Like if you had to, it was like a big fucking deal. Like
Scarlet
okay,
letter.
you're 15 years old, you fucked up, like you made a mistake. Like this is like you have to deal with that consequence for the rest of your life, though. Because I mean, once you have that abortion, like it's done. Like you're taking a life, and unfortunately, we've taken away from looking at it as like, hey, I'm taking a life. To
It's healthcare.
I got pregnant. I'll have another one. It's healthcare.
It's healthcare.
Right? Like
Pump
I'll
cells.
and then I get pregnant. And you know what? I'm still not ready. I'll just have another abortion. Like it's looked at as too easy, and I think that's why people look at it as like they have to make it a big deal now. It's like no, like the problem with Roe v. versus Wade was it was allowing for extreme abortions to happen. Whether it's 1%, 2%, 5 out of 10, I don't care. It was allowing for late term abortions to happen. It was making it too regular. It was making it too okay. Whereas, when I was 16 years old, like that was the fucking last thing you wanted to have to worry about. Like that was a big deal. And it just goes to show that we've made this so much about our selfishness versus looking at abortion as like the end of a life, which it is. I don't care who you are, what you want to look at it. If you're trying to kill a fetus at 24 weeks old, it's a fucking baby. It's crazy to me that this is a conversation, but so let's move off of it. Let's get on to something a little bit better.
Two last things.
Yeah.
I mean, just pull out. I mean, are those
you.
extra 3 fucking pumps? I mean, what?
Yeah, dude.
Pull out, take a nap, and then fucking do it again.
If you
Fucking
do
calm
it into
down.
a fucking piece of toilet paper every other day, you can fucking do it in the fucking bedroom.
Yeah, and then just one other side note. Yeah, the abortion as a business is a $4.3 billion industry annually. $4.3 billion.
That's crazy. Well, let's take it to the next step, education. That was the next big thing that Trump touched on in one of his announcements. I didn't write down all the details. There was a couple of them that stuck out to me. One, he was going to dismantle the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. He was going to send it to the states, though. It's not like he's getting rid of people to look over education. It's not like he's going to take care, not fund schools and not do all that stuff. He's going to give it to the states because, frankly, it's too big to handle from Washington, D.C. Every state is different. Every state has different inner city issues. Every state has rural areas that don't have busing and all these different things. Like, I think that's a great job. Plus, he said it's going to take thousands of jobs and place them all over the country. We have enough people in Washington, D.C. right now. We don't need to put a bunch more bureaucrats in charge of our kids' education.
Take on the teachers' unions is wild. That is a strong organization.
The next one was, well, this is just a statistic that he shared. He's like, we score at the bottom, I think 15% in the world in education for kids, but we spend 3 times more than per pupil than any other nation in the world. Next, he made a big deal about, schools where you're there to learn, immediate expulsion for any student harming another teacher or student. I think that just goes to, wanting to make it a safer place to learn. School choice, he brought that up. That was actually one of our most popular shorts. A lot of people commented on the idea of school choice. It's funny because I feel like a lot of the people that don't like school choice is because like they're not going to drive 20 minutes to put their kids in a better position to succeed. I mean, that's really what it you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that at least with a lot of the responses, they're like, oh, they can still accept and deny whoever they want to accept and deny, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you're missing the point. The idea of school choice is that as a parent, you have control over your students, your kids' education. If you don't like the one that your school's giving it to them, if it's an unsafe school and you're willing to go the extra step to put them somewhere else, like, you should have that option, and it shouldn't cost you any money. Like, that money that the government's already spending to put your kid through school at your local public school, that should follow the kid to whatever school he goes to. You talk about voucher programs and things like that. I think those are all a positive. So I thought that was a good thing. A couple other things that he did mention, I didn't write them down. Where was I going to go?
Anything with college, with removing a lot of subsidies from colleges?
No, didn't really talk about the college aspect of it, but he did talk about, making sure that schools were putting more of an emphasis on job counselors and career counselors in order to make sure that kids are getting a more success after college. The other thing that he put a big point and emphasis on was making sure that schools were offering types of like project programs so that kids were learning things outside of just their everyday school in order to how to succeed better in life once they get out of school. Thought those were a couple of key points. we'll see.
I actually have a lot to say on all this subject. That's pretty nice. Two main points that stuck out to me a lot, and one is going to be a little controversial, but the immediate expulsion for harming another student. I mean, surprise, surprise, I've been bullied in high school, and the only thing that shut the bullies up is if you push back, and eventually, as men, that leads to a confrontation. And I mean, if I could have been expelled for defending myself, that's crazy to me. So I mean, I think that should be a little more nuanced, I guess, on some aspects of that, because I mean, I was bullied for just being in band and playing soccer. It didn't matter. Like, I wasn't some guy going around, saying like, I want to have a, sex change, or I wasn't homosexual anyway. I had plenty of girlfriends in high school, but just doing those things and being different in that aspect, people want to bully you. They'll bully you for no matter what you do.
How many girlfriends in high school did you have?
Like 2. but my point being is it's great to want to make them safer, but I don't know about the media expulsion, because every case should be based on its own merits.
There's a lot of fights in schools.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
yeah, but you know what? I think it's more so against bullying. So I don't think if you're the one being bullied, I don't think you're necessarily starting fights.
he said at that point too, at some point in time, 'cause someone would be like, well, he was saying this about this, or he was.
Well, if you're a big pussy and you're going to school, maybe you should be homeschooled. I don't know what
Fair
to tell you.
Just fight.
I'm kidding.
Fight my dad. Yeah, I mean, fight my parents this time. Why am I getting bullied when I'm homeschooled? And something that if I didn't ever become an engineer, something I would have redone, and they still have it back where I come from, but it'd be greater if they did it overall, is JVC. Or,
JVS.
JVS, yeah.
It's not called that
Sorry.
anymore. So my daughter's, she wants to go to next year. It's actually called the Career Center now, which sounds so much better than the JVS.
Yeah.
Like the JVS, just like, and this is the thing. It's crazy because they have some great programs. My wife went through it when she became a cosmetologist, and then now she's a barber. My daughter's friend was over this weekend, and she was talking about how she was going through a nursing program, and after her junior year, she's gonna have her STNA, right? Like so. Like just the ability to have that after your junior year in high school and then start working on site in different positions your senior year is great. They do a lot of like guaranteeing jobs, guaranteeing work program. They have partners with different places to go put those kids on site for. And this is just from these two experiences, right, that I have. But like when I was in high school, like I remember the JVS. Like I actually thought about going to the JVS because I was like, oh, this sounds cool. I'll go learn how to like do body shop or weld or something cool. But I remember looking out the window and all the fucking degenerates that were getting off the fucking bus. And I was like, God damn, those are all the fucking terrible fucking kids. Like, you know what? JVS isn't for me at that point. Football, I was kind of preppy. Like, I wasn't trying to go fucking mess around and hang out with the fucking skaters and the stoners and the fucking smokers. But now, like, it's different, and it's funny because my daughter's friend was telling us how, they have a better dress code than they do at the high school. Like you can't be wearing jeans with holes in them. The girls can't be showing their stomachs or having their tits hang out.
And those stomachs really get at you there.
But I mean, here's the thing: for a high school student to hear that, they may be like, "Oh, it's not for me." But no, it's kind of training them for that next step. Like when you're in high school, there's a lot of distractions. Let's face it. You learn the basics. You go to college. You don't fucking know what you're going to get into. I think going through that experience where kids are learning a trade, they're working with kids from other school districts, so they're getting an opportunity to meet kids that they wouldn't normally associate with. And one of the things that she said was the girls that was my daughter's friend said too was she was like, it's like everybody's there because they want to be. So the teachers, they treat you more like an adult. It's just a way better experience. She's like, I'm excited to go to school because I'm learning something that I want to do. I'm not having to sit in a history class for an hour learning about something that's not, and obviously they have basic, student courses there as well, but they get to spend a day in lab when they're learning how to actually do their job versus just being in a classroom for 8 hours, whether it's a study hall or all these other. So, yeah, the JVS is a fantastic program. I wish that there was they would add on to it because some of those programs that those kids go to for STNA program, $300. My wife went through a cosmetology program. It was like $300 a year, right? You try to do that after school, and those are like $6,000-$7,000 schoolings that you have to sign up and go to. So looks like you got something to say, Grayson.
No, I mean, yeah, I just think the education system overall has kind of been, the same for how long now? 50s, 60s. There's a certain narrative written like, you go to high school, you learn these 3 or 4, key areas. Then you go to college, you get your degree, and it's like and to me, there's just, to your point, there's so much more out there now. Like when my son brought home the career center, the pamphlet, and I was an advocate for it. I said, dude, you need to do this. You know what I mean? And he didn't end up doing it. He's a sports kid. He wanted to be around his friends, and so there was that. But I just think there's a much bigger opportunity there for things that are kind of real world. College has been, I'm not against college. I'm against the price of it. I will say that. I'm serious. I mean,
It's a business. It's a
holy
business.
shit. My son, he wants to pitch in college, right? So we're going down this whole, this whole D1, D2, this whole status thing, right?
of course.
And I start looking at you look at a Division III college, right? I just saw a kid today committed to Wittenberg. I pull up Wittenberg, $43,000 a year. You're not getting, even if you're getting some academic, meaning a few $1,000, and they find you, because Division III, they can't give, sports scholarship, but
They could get
they'll
like some
find you,
assistance or
they'll
something.
find you money, right? Even if they find you 10 grand. I mean, in your first 2 years, because you do have an option where actually before you can out of a JV or a career center, you can pull in some college credits.
Right.
Those, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I heard she was. This girl was telling us like up to 19 college credits or something. You
Right,
can pull out.
right. If you do it the right way, you
Yeah.
can build towards it, right, and get it cheaper. Well, obviously the system, they don't want that.
I was in engineering, and the dumbest thing was like, hey, do you want to take the humanities? No, how is this going to help me with my degree? Like, I'm here for my degree. I'm not going to pay an extra $1,000 for one semester because you want me to take something that has nothing to do with my degree.
But yeah, I think we need, I think we need more of those entrepreneurial type thinkers. Think for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Think for yourself in this world, and keep fighting, right? Fight, right? But no, honestly, keep pushing, keep fighting. The biggest the biggest people, will say, or the to me the people that make it to the top are the ones that have failed the hardest, right?
Yeah.
They have to keep navigating back through and fighting for whether it's their business or what they believe in or whatever. And I think we just have this kind of this standard route of this is what you do. And so I'm a huge advocate for it in that manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, growing up, like, you're depending on your parenting and whatnot, is you're going to go to school, you're going to get good grades. In our day, it was, you're going to get good grades, you're going to get your ass kicked. I got good grades. I still got my ass kicked though, but it's just because I was a clown. But and then after high school, it was you're going to go to college. If you don't have the aptitudes, where are you going? Going to the military.
Yeah.
Or you could go into the trades. And but what's interesting and just I couldn't help. I just can't help myself with my stats and my figures. I'm always looking at stuff, but we're looking at like universities as a business and where it is now. And out in California, the very first online university I ever heard of, ironically, was Ashland University. So, like that was like the big joke back then because they took everybody. Like it seemed like that might have been like the test market for it. But
Right.
So I was traditionally educated, graduated from high school, went straight to college. 4 years later, had my bachelor's, then went into law school, then decided that's too much fucking reading and nobody likes lawyers. So then gave that up. But I worked full time while I was in college. I left with no student debt, went to a University of California school. It was UC Riverside. It was it wasn't UCLA, but
Right,
it
right.
was also a quarter of the price of
Yeah.
UCLA, but came away with, my entire college education was, under $40,000, including pencils and books. Like, do you guys have a guess as to what the university industry is worth?
Overall,
Yeah.
well, the problem is there's over 112 D1
Okay, so revenues, annual revenue, what do you think?
per school.
No, just overall. What's the U.S. university system worth?
Jesus Christ, I'd have to say it's north of 5 billion.
Yeah.
Definitely north of 5
It's definitely north of 5 billion. But yeah.
You were correct, sir.
Yes. That's a correct answer.
Is it 20 billion?
Keep going. It's $500 billion.
Yeah, I was gonna go. I was
annually.
gonna shoot it like
Yeah.
near a
No.
trillion.
Yeah, half it's
$500 billion taken in. Yeah, but how much of that is taken in by debt that they never actually get repaid?
That's the biggest thing there is that, you want to talk about like a bubble that's waiting to burst at some point.
You got any stats over there on what percentage of student loans are paid back?
Yeah.
They had that last. I do know that. I don't know what the number was, but actually is something they did calculate.
Here
from
it
last
is.
election.
This is going to be a technical term. Nowhere fucking near enough.
Well, no, it is enough because here's the thing: those universities are all still operating.
Yeah.
They're all still operating. Now you have college athletes that are getting paid. So if they can still operate without getting all the revenue from those college athletes, because now that stuff is shared based off likeness and effect, right? So
Well, student loans can't be forgiven. Well, they can be forgiven. They
can't be bankrupt.
They can't be bankrupted.
Right. So according to recent data, about 50% of student loan borrowers have completely paid off their loans, while another significant portion are currently making payments on time, meaning a large percentage of student loans are eventually paid back. However, a portion of borrowers are behind on payments, or half of borrowers are currently on time. Delinquency rate, small percentage among private loans held. Contributors end of the quarter, 70% in repayment, 18% in deferment, 6% are in grace period.
Grace period. Yeah. Okay, bud.
Yeah. So I mean,
I remember Grace.
Here we talked about it before. I mean, obviously, I remember when I wanted to graduate high school. Well, when I graduated high school and I thought about going to college. I think at that point,
What was the Vietnam War like?
no, but yeah, right. I want to say that like 2000, like you looked at college was like a $40,000 experience, if I'm not mistaken. Like I feel like
Yeah, I
that
would
was,
say
I
it's
feel like
about
that's
10, about 10 grand a year.
Yeah,
I
I
would say
feel
it was
like
like a state school.
a state
you go to
school,
Ohio
like,
State.
like I was
yeah.
still a
Well, not
resident of
Ohio State,
California,
but
so
yeah.
like for me to go to USC, I want to say it was like $11,000 a year.
Yeah.
As a state school, and then I was living in Ohio currently, and I think Ohio State was like $12,000 a year back then. It's funny because like out here we have College of Worcester, private college. You've got Ashland University.
52,000.
Right,
College
I
of
was-
Worcester's 52 grand.
So in 2006, I was thinking about going back to college after the
year.
military, and it was like 30 grand a year at that point.
It's
So,
wild.
Yeah. So exactly. It's just one of those things where I get it. They don't have all the sports and everything else to bring in income, but like, where are you going to come up with $200,000 to send your kid to school when the average salary in the country is the average household in Ohio brings in less than $75,000 a
Yeah,
year?
you're not paying it back either.
No.
So
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? They keep them paying.
Right.
Paying your
Minimum.
minimums. You're paying your interest off.
and that's the thing. Like, what are we teaching these kids? I mean, they're still kids, right?
Well, they
I mean,
took out home ec, right? Like I didn't have home ec in high school. Like I know the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but like if it wasn't
Wow.
for TurboTax, am I doing my taxes? Probably fucking not.
Yeah. Right.
Deep pull there.
Well, you mentioned interest rates, like on your payments. Like we don't even teach financial literacy in school. Like people don't know what a APR is or an interest rate even means, and you're taking out 200 grand in debt. And there certainly was a stigma on the vocational schools.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was the
yeah.
same age group as you.
Yep.
It was like, here's your path. You got to go to college. You got to go to college, and I did. You know what I mean? And I don't like frown on my experiences. I learned.
Had a beer bong.
It's like I certainly could have partied cheaper than I went to Miami University, and I feel like it was like $16,000 to $20,000 a year when I went there. And like I said, there was benefits to going to college, but forcing that down people's throats, or like poo-pooing, the idea of going to a vocational school, and right off the bat you're making an income when you get out of
Well, and that's the thing, my wife told my daughter this too. She's like, look, you might not want to be a cosmetologist for the rest of your life. You might want to do hair, you might want to not do any of that stuff. But the idea is that while you can work, like you could get out of high school, have a full-time job, make a good living wage, and you can still go to school full-time. And guess what? Wherever you live in the world, there's always going to be people that need a haircut. There's always going to be people that need their nails done, et cetera, et cetera. So whichever direction you take with it, you could always use that for a secondary source of income while you're doing something else.
Yeah.
And that goes for pretty much every trade that's through the Career Center, whether you get into mechanics or you get into body shop work or anything like that. Like, first of all, those are some of the highest paying jobs in the country right now. You go through and get your HVAC license, right? Like you can go make $25, $30 an hour part-time working for a small business while you go get your college degree doing something else and end up a little bit less in debt.
Fun fact though, with the HVAC, it's the technicians can make money. The business itself is not as good as you think because it's oversaturated right now.
Well, it's also just a low return on investment on HVAC. I mean, the guy that did my HVAC, I know he made $700, including the unit that he sold me and the labor for installing it, right? But he was actually the cheapest price too. So whether it's not they don't make money, let me tell you something. The other company locally that came out to my fucking house 3 times and didn't fix the fucking problem, fuck you. There's still money to be made in that program, especially when you get a commercial. But let's here and here or there. The idea is though that getting those trade school opportunities gives you a way to earn an income while you might still be going to college. And listen, I don't think college is a bad idea. Like college wasn't for me, okay, because I knew what was going to happen to college. Like I was going to be out on my own. I was going to do what the fuck I wanted. I graduated high school with a 2.0 GPA because that's what I needed to play sports, and I was able to do that by just passing all my tests with A or B's and not taking a book home for 4 years. Like
Genius.
that was the only all my dad wanted to see was all C's, and that was all that mattered, right? It didn't matter what else I did. So I knew if I would have went to college, that wasn't going to be the case. What did I do? I went in the Army because I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. Otherwise, I just knew I didn't want to live in my mom's dad's house anymore. That was the route that I took. Now I can tell you that 24 years later, I'm glad I didn't go to college because I would have partied my ass off. Probably would be doing the exact same thing I did afterwards or some form of it. I like being with people. I would have probably still ended up in sales where I don't necessarily need a degree. And I probably would have been just as successful without college than I would have been with it. Looking back at it now, it's not for everybody. I just don't think it should be part of our indoctrination where we're saying like you have to do this. And it sure as fuck shouldn't cost $50,000 a year.
That's an inexpensive college. You guys have any idea what you mentioned Worcester, so their average tuition is about $70,000 a year now.
Wow.
That's non-Ivy League. We were doing a list.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, it's private school. That's why it's more than a state
Jesuit,
school.
Wheeling Jesuit University.
What do you got, Dave? What are you looking at right now?
Oh, I had just looked up a few of them. I already moved away from that, but Pepperdine is the most expensive. Go figure. Fucking California school.
Yep.
$100,000 a year.
$100,000.
Sounds like a Candyland spot.
We might as well just give kids $400,000 loans and be like, go start your own business.
Yeah.
That would no, but Kamala wanted to give what 50,000.
Yeah,
That's not even.
No,
Doesn't
that
even.
was that for starting your own business?
Yeah, small business,
was that what it was?
$50,000 tax credit or cash or.
I love how they
whatever.
say tax credit. That's like, for instance, like she also wanted to do the homeowners
Yeah.
credit for first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Bitch, you still got to come up with the $25,000 down to get the loan in order to get the tax right off the next year. You're not just handing people. And people are like, she gonna give me $25,000 to buy a house. She said it just like that. I'm gonna give you $25,000 to buy a house.
I was gonna say they will if she says it like
why are
that.
you doing a fake accent?
Listen, man, okay? I'm from Jamaica, all right?
He can't block me again. I don't give a shit.
I should call her.
But seriously, like it's funny when you talk about that. Just like the child tax credit, people are like, "Oh, she's gonna give me $8,000 to have a kid." No, it's a fucking write-off. Like if you make over $100,000, you're not gonna get shit back anyway. You're not gonna qualify for it. So guess what? Don't even pay attention to it.
It was so. If you remember, what was the credit that they did during 2020, where then we very quickly figured out who made under $72,000 a year because everybody was posting it all over Facebook, and
Yeah,
then
they were getting like $1,200.
Right.
It was for the.
Yeah.
It was the first stimulus package.
Yeah.
$1,200, I think they
Yeah.
got.
And then the second one where they moved it, and then it's like, oh well, okay.
The
And then,
second one was, I think it was household or something like that, or maybe
think
they were
so.
both
Yeah.
house. All I know is I didn't get a fucking dollar.
I did
in
not get
stimulus,
anything
those
either.
Fucking bastards, dude.
got nothing.
But I'm
Damn, that's
paying for
crazy.
it. I'm paying
Yeah.
for it now. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
all right.
$6 an egg.
Last
Buy
one.
chickens, grow your own.
Last one was Trump to restore law and order, increased liability protections for police officers, large investment in hiring and training for police officer or for police in general, strict enforcement of gun laws on felons, cooperating with ICE to remove illegal aliens, investigate into race-based enforcement of law by prosecuting offices, dismantle all gang, street crews, and drug networks. Death penalty for drug dealers and human traffickers. National Guard and federal assets will be authorized to help protect civilians in dangerous cities. So if the police don't have enough people to do it, he has no problem using federal assets. Stronger penalties by crimes by minors. This is something that's kind of big because you talk about a lot of the theft rings and stuff like that when it comes to Grand Theft Auto and stolen cars are actually done by minors. I think if you look it up, it's actually like 60% of stolen cars are done by minors because the penalties are so less. They're hired into these rings in order to do so, and then they got back on the streets the next day. So stronger penalties for them. Concealed carry no longer has end at the state line. What is the word I'm looking for?
Reciprocity.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
fuck you, California. I'll come in there with
No,
my
fuck-
fucking FNN if I want to.
Fuck you, New York. 'Cause they're
Yeah.
New York City specifically.
And then obviously lockdown borders was his final aspect on that. I think that's gonna. God, I can't. I want to see him fucking just bust out like fucking. I want to see 200 charter buses filled with illegal immigrants just fucking driving into fucking Mexico in some huge fucking convoy. Better yet, you know what? They use cattle trucks for us in basic training. Just stick them in fucking cattle trucks and fucking haul them across the border. If they could haul our fucking troops in cattle trucks from fucking camp to camp and fucking basic and AIT and everything else, they can surely fucking put buses of fucking illegal immigrants in fucking. I mean, you can fit a lot of people in a
walked
fucking
here.
cattle truck. I think we were. I want to say we were fitting 60 soldiers in a fucking cattle truck.
I'll be honest, it's hard to hear what you're saying. Because when you said Law and Order, I keep hearing dun 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 dun.
Is that actually how it goes? I feel like that's not the correct.
Donk donk.
Wee, wee.
The wee woos.
The wee, the wee woos.
The wee woos are coming.
Oh god.
So I like. I'm not against strict enforcement of gun laws on felons. I think that goes back into some of the stuff that happened over the last couple of years. And he talked about it too. Was people getting released out on the streets early after committing crimes and things like that, and then doing worse crimes after the fact. You talk about George Floyd, right? That's a great example of somebody that was literally in and out of the prison system for assault with a weapon, fucking attacking a pregnant woman. I think.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about women's rights then.
No, because that would have been a late term abortion.
Wow.
No, ironically, don't you get charged with murder when you kill a fetus?
Yeah.
So it's a weird dynamic.
Yeah,
That is
super
really
fucking weird.
I
But
thought it wasn't a baby.
but there was a lot of things that happened during that period of time where you had people that were in and out of the fucking office, or out of prison quickly, and then committing a worser crime while they were out.
Worser.
More. What would you prefer to say? Much worse.
I don't know. You didn't go to college. I'm not
Oh,
That's right.
burn.
I didn't go to college, and I was able to buy this YouTube studio all by myself.
I love Worser. I put it on my brisket when I smoke it.
I would like to personally thank you for my stimulus checks.
Wow.
Fuck you, Anthony. So yeah, I think being tough on crime is big. I think that being able to cross the border with a concealed carry is huge. But he didn't put it down. I mean, he said tougher fucking gun laws for people that are committing crimes with weapons. Look, the only thing you can do is put more guns in the hands of people that are civilians and doing things right, and take away the guns from the people that are doing it wrong. The benefit of having a concealed carry means that one, most likely you had some training, right? You'd at least go through a class to certify that you could actually wield a gun or some kind of weapon safely to yourself and to your family. You'd at least understand the basics versus 14-year-old kid dealing drugs that has no experience whatsoever and waves it around like it's a fucking BB gun and accidentally shoots somebody in the face, or better yet, does it because he doesn't know any better. And I think that there should be less. Without controlling guns nationwide, the only way you could do it is be tougher on people that commit crimes with guns.
We have like this anarcho tyranny situation where, like, if you are in one of these inner cities where it's a gun-free zone, you're literally a victim in waiting, and in some of these situations, and then you're like Daniel Penny, who's literally being, he's on trial right now for more or less standing up for himself. While a guy's
is that the guy in
threatening
New
the whole
York subway?
train, yeah,
Yeah.
he's saying he feels like killing somebody.
Yeah.
He gets put in a chokehold, and then that guy is awaiting trial or on trial for his life. So you install this fear in people that if I do stand up for myself or if I do defend myself, that's going to be me. So I certainly support the idea of, the status quo is not sustainable, and again, like the Second Amendment reciprocity and being able to defend yourself in situations, like you should not have to live in fear. Calling 911 is not always the best option.
It's rarely the best option.
Mm.
They can come clean it up.
But here's
Yeah.
here's the other aspect of that too. My wife doesn't have a concealed carry, and I've talked to her about it. Especially like if she's working late at night, closing up by herself. But the first thing I told her, like, do you physically think you're capable of pulling the trigger and ending somebody else's life? If not, like, then you don't need a concealed carry weapon, because otherwise it's just going to get you fucking shot. Right. And that's something that I think has to be really considered when somebody is, anybody out there talking about getting their concealed weapon carry. Like, I mean, you're carrying something that's designed to fucking end lives. So, one, train, be prepared, and make sure if it's something that you're choosing to do, that you're doing so with the absolute best foot forward that you can do. But I saw you wave some head over there, Anthony. You looked like, what do you feel about this tough on crime?
So
You want to give felons guns, don't you?
honestly, I kind of don't care on that, because the thought process being is if you serve your time, technically you are cleared of it, are you not? But also,
Well,
common
your
sense-
your sentence is over. You're not cleared of anything.
Well, so my point being is, so we're assuming then they're at that point second-class citizens, so we treat them as such.
Well,
Most
they were given an opportunity to be citizens, and they
I'm not
harmed
disagreeing.
some.
I'm just saying,
I-
let's be honest.
Are
about
they
the
a
situation.
second-class citizen? No, I think that they're on they're living on a probation. They're on a citizen probation for a while. I mean,
should
if
be a
you
pathway for them
if
to
you
own a
stab somebody, I'm sure as fuck not going to give you a gun.
I think we can at least set at what type of felony it would be. I get a little more nuance, just because there are different types of felonies. As opposed to you sold drugs or you murdered somebody. Those would be two different things. Or you had a felony possession charge where it was just you bought enough for yourself, or you wanted it for the month, something like that, or whatever it be. I don't know what the amounts are, but compared to, again, you murdered somebody or you had a drug ring going on.
Or check fraud. Like, I think I see what you're saying is that.
So there's multiple types of felonies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say I'm sure they intend to make it more on a specific type. It's just hearing the generalized of what he plans on doing, I'm wanting to see more on it. As well
So
as.
one thing I could tell you personally from having a felony is your ability to purchase a gun doesn't necessarily go away because you have a felony. It has to do with the type of felony. It also has to do with the maximum amount of time that you could spend in prison, right? So I think actually federal law is, if you commit a felony that doesn't require at least a year, more than a year's time in prison, like, it doesn't affect your gun rights. Certain felonies, after you commit them, like, I think it's like 2 years, 3 years later, you can own a weapon again. So yeah, it does depend. I think the idea is that violent crime felony offenders should not own guns.
Right. And I can agree with I can agree with it. It just and we're not going to talk about this. It's just part of the Christian in me in this sense of just what point is forgiveness kind of deal. And yes, you'll get burned, and yes, it's logic tells you, okay, they committed it and they're going to go back in again, George Floyd, things of that nature. So it's just, with our justice system being signed of the process, I mean, was it Thomas Jefferson who said, I'd rather let 1,000 guilty men go free than put one innocent man in jail? At what point do you want to punish 1,000, innocent men just so one guilty man doesn't commit again? That's just my concern. But again, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and you want to protect the many in this situation. Sorry, that's my thoughts.
I like it.
Well, I'm just thinking back to it. I mean, I hear most of the cases where a gun is used in a violent crime isn't like a first offender, right? There's certain things that have to be. And here, I'm all about guns. Like, I believe people should own them. I believe people should train with them. I think that people should protect themselves. I thought that at one point in time that we were going to need them to prevent us from, losing all of our rights.
Still might. You
in
never
our
know.
own country. Yeah, you never know. But at the same point in time, like, I want this to be a safe place for my families to grow up. My current family, I want my daughter's eventual family. I want them to have a place where they can call home and feel safe. And right now, it's not just one thing, right? It's not gun control. It's not just illegal immigration. It's not just not being tough on crime. It's not just shitty prosecutors not prosecuting. It's like a collection of all things. And I think at some point you have to start somewhere and see where things go. Because as we've seen, talking about just something as simple as abortions, 50 years later, you could realize you made a mistake. But how many lives were saved in that time, right? So if we're a little tough now and we find out later, hey, maybe we should give some more people opportunity. Maybe we give them the ability to apply for the opportunity. Ultimately, look, if you're a bad guy, you can get a gun however you want.
Yeah, and they always do.
So, it's better to be tough on the actual person committing the crime than the actual gun.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, I'm with you. We're not the people, concealed carry or open carry or however, constitutional carry, whatever you want to call it. We're not the people that you need to worry about, right? And in fact, we're the ones that
we're
are
all white
we're
men.
the ones that are going to say.
First of all, I did the 21andMe. You don't know what I am.
But
21 in you?
21. Yeah, was that your audition? That must have been back. We're back to your audition. No.
Why do you think I was in the background extra for Judas in the Black Messiah?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, honestly, the NRA people and the ones that the Dems pour down on, like, these gun toting, all this shit, and it's like, we're the ones that we're gonna save your wife or kid one day when that bad situation does come around. We're not waving guns around. You know what I mean? Like acting like crazy people. We're not the thugs. And the fact is like the thugs are still going to get that. There's always going to be a black market for weapons, right? I mean,
everyone's like, "Where's this going?"
The black market.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Thugs.
but you're 100% right. Like, I mean, there's always going to be a market for this.
there is.
There's also 3D printed firearms too. So
What are you talking about? I've never done that before in my life.
even when you can't buy them, you can make them. So couple fun facts here. So our population is north of 300 million. Registered firearms. What do you think that number is?
More than that. It's more than that.
Registered, I would say it is 1.2 billion.
It's like 7 guns per registered gun owner, right?
It's not that high.
300 million Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said registered gun owners.
Yeah, no, registered guns.
Yeah.
So
I lost all of mine in a boating accident recently.
so registered, there's somewhere just north of 1 million. It's not that high of a number. Now, unregistered, there's almost 400 million. Okay.
Yeah.
In contrast, And obviously in the U.S. we've got a problem with violence, and we have a problem with school shootings, and we got a problem with all of that. That's a whole other podcast. But in contrast, our lovely Canucks to the north of us, their population is 36 million, so they have a tenth of our population up there. Do you think they have more guns or less guns than us?
They have more gun restrictions.
Yeah, they recently banned handguns, did they not?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because of a big thing with Trudeau recently. I'm gonna guess more, honestly.
Yeah.
So they have 2 million, so they have double the registered firearms up there. Unregistered, they have more than double. So our neighbors to the north have more than, they have 1/10 of our population, but they have more than double the amount of firearms we have.
Well,
So
the
that's
moose
why-
are really big up there, so you gotta.
The moose?
Yeah.
And that's why I want free healthcare, honestly, so I can spend more money on guns. That's why I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. Well, and fun fact, just random knows, if you go salmon fishing or river fishing in Alaska, you actually are mandatory. You're required to carry at least a 44 Magnum or higher because
Bears.
of bears.
Yeah.
Honestly, bears.
Yep.
The bears.
The bears.
That's fucking.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I would have never guessed.
We do, and our prison system has been corrupted by privatization, Bill Clinton. So we have to, at one point Kamala was talking about reimagining the police, which I thought was hysterical. As a guy who was once one, like, yeah, I'd like to see how somebody who has, she referred to herself as the top law enforcement official of California, yet, she's never put on a uniform or done anything other than go to fucking Starbucks and, put minorities in prison. Like,
I honestly thought she was more of a bottom. But like that's just she did sleep her way to the top, did she not?
yeah.
Yeah, Willie Brown.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to miss her.
What is good? What?
I should call her.
So how? So I got a question. All right, so we've gone through some of this stuff now with Trump. What happens? First of all, have you guys watched any of the news reactions to this from the?
I watched. I'm just saying. I did this for research.
Did you watch The View?
I watched The View.
Their ratings had to be sky high on Monday.
Oh,
or
yeah, that's
Wednesday.
Big.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Probably their best ever ratings.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Sunny Hostin and all those women are just
So crazy.
disgusting.
Joy Behar or whatever. her name is.
Yeah, I can't stand them. I agree. But you know what? Like it's funny to hear when you have somebody who's actually intelligent on, where they come on and everybody's trying to say like, oh, it's the fastest, and fucking we're gonna be ruined and da 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 da, and it's this. Like literally every segment of the world or the country voted higher for Trump this time than they did before. I don't care if you're black, you're old,
Yeah.
you're young, you're white, you're crazy, you're whatever. It doesn't matter. Hispanic, fucking woman, married woman, educated woman. Every single segment that they track, all voted higher for him because we have issues. And it's interesting when you have like a common sense individual on these news programs, and he's like, look, like if there's anything the Democrats should have learned, like we've lost the trust in the American population. And one of the things that I think that they did is I think they went too far. Not just from my standpoint, being a Trump supporter or whatever, like I've always felt like they've been too far for the last 10 years, right? But I mean, like they even made their own shit so fucking unbelievable that people like, unless you're a diehard fucking like I'm blue no matter who, I believe everything they said. Like there's just too much fucking information out there. And I think it's the younger generation that changed that because man, social media is on fire right now.
This was a referendum on those people. I mean, like you mentioned, like who actually still believe in those people? There's like a few boomers out there that believe MSNBC is telling them the truth. If you're watching The View, I don't understand. Like other than for entertainment purposes, you can't be watching what those people are saying and thinking that they're telling you the truth. if you are seeing anything on the flip side or anything, you know, if they're telling you Trump said this and then you see the original video and that's not what he said, you know, at some point in time you have to start questioning that. But it totally, I mean, I think those people are done. They are never going to have the amount of sway and they've overshot the mark. They, like you said, they lied too much. The lie was too big, and over and over and over and over again, whether it was COVID or the 2020 election or that January 6th was Pearl Harbor or 9/11.
Yeah.
You know, people just, and congratulations to the American people for seeing through that.
Fuck yeah,
you know
dude.
what I mean? And on a large scale, and you know, voting for the guy despite the fact that you had people literally telling you he was Hitler and he was a fascist and. Well, it's going to be the Handmaid's Tale.
I mean, he did a great job. Yeah, he did a great job this time of getting buy-in from multiple people. Like you had millions of people that really liked Robert F. Kennedy. In fact, I'll be the first to say that I think if he would have went through a primary and was I said it in the show before, if he was the Democratic, I think he wound up beating Trump.
He's a Kennedy. He's
I
as
think
close to a royal family as America has.
The only reason we're not talking about President Kennedy right now really is because of the fact the Democratic Party just gave him the shit.
Shut him out. Yeah.
Because if if Kamala got 70 million votes, I mean, you'd have to expect that he would have gotten 80.
That would have been a very tight, very close.
It would have been.
race.
It would have been very interesting.
I think, like you say, we lose Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think I can't think of Trump winning that. I mean, I'd look at it like I try to look at it from every point of view, and I just can't see him winning because if Democrats can still be close enough to be considered in the race, and I mean, some of these races are still 2 points away, which is fucking mind-boggling. Like every state should have been +7 red in this fucking, but whatever. I mean, their own party sabotaged themselves because I don't think they would. I think Kennedy would have won.
In the last 40 years was the last time you had somebody try to assassinate a candidate multiple times.
Well, did you see Bill Maher? Bill Maher on what's it called? Saturday Night Live, when he's like, this shit should have been over 4 months ago. Like up until now, if you're a fucking running for president and you get fucking shot at, like everybody just goes, you win. Like I give up. Like you fucking get shot at, fucking stand up, face the guy who shot at you and fucking yell, fight, fight, fight. Like, okay, you win. Like, and he should have. It should have been a fucking landslide.
That tells me there's 70 million people that think he should have been killed.
Yeah. Yep. Or just dumb.
Yeah. Well,
uneducated.
both,
like just and
Or
not even
in a
uneducated.
cemetery.
Low information.
Because I know people locally even that I got into arguments about, and it's like, God, you're smart. Like you're a fucking attorney, or you're this, or you're that, and like you're sitting here arguing with me over the fact that like women lost all their rights after this election and everything else. But
Well, that's virtue signaling,
yeah.
right? That's
But I think it just goes to show like Democrats took too far. I think Rogan even said the day after or whatever, he had Dave Smith on, and he's like, I'll tell you when he went too far is when Obama literally came out and used the same good people on both sides argument regarding Charleston, which was from 2017, and they're still trying to say that Trump didn't freaking disown fucking white supremacists. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Any idiot can go look at that speech and within 30 seconds is like, oh yeah, he said not the supremacist, not the white supremacists, not the neo-Nazis, not the da-da-da-da. But there's people on both sides that were arguing that had points, right? They were both good people. They just wanted something to change. And it's like, God, dude, it just goes to show how easy it is to get a narrative passed. Because half the people are going to believe whatever you say. Doesn't matter who you are.
I think what's refreshing to me was, he moved up 19 points, I think, in the 18 to 29 range. That's that's the future, right?
Yeah.
And I think
First time voters, man.
What I think really got those younger ones was the Rogans, and I mean, we haven't really said enough about J.D. Vance here, and I'm sure in next ones, it'll open it up, but Vance, I mean, when you look at that guy, holy cow, I mean, he's very well put together. He's Trump with Kuth. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Good way to put it, yeah.
Kamala would have done better if she did better in Madden, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. She would have done better if she did
pick 6 or whatever.
Yeah, I was appreciative of that young that youth coming out and really just with like a logic and common sense mindset, right? Just like, okay, these people are fucked up.
Well, I gotta ask, how much is that common sense? How much is it just you are forced towards the truth because at a certain point, even you can't swallow, they can't swallow the stupidity of it. Like, how many times you get told that you're the enemy, everything you do is wrong, and everything that you have in your gut is screaming otherwise.
Right.
Well, and I think that's younger generation too. Like they don't get their news from MSNBC.
Right.
They don't get their news from CNN.
TikTok.
They might
No,
they
right.
might see it. They might see something on YouTube or see a video on TikTok, but then they look it up, and then they watch 100
They
videos
fact
on
check it
TikTok.
themselves.
Right. And it's interesting. You brought up, he was on Rogan, he was on Theo Von, he was on Andrew Schultz. He did a lot of these long form programs. And so
Right.
did JD Vance. And JD Vance is super fucking impressive. I said it before on this show too. That's another thing. I'll double.
He's
down
the
on
future,
that.
man.
Yeah, I'll double down. Like I said that. Like I didn't like him at first. I wasn't sure. I wanted Tulsi to be the pick for VP, frankly. But like after hearing him shut fucking people down.
Oh yeah.
Well,
He's
not
hyper
just
He's
him.
very eloquent when he does it too.
Yes.
He
Like, that
doesn't
dude
need the
could
name
speak.
call and come up with a nickname and all that. And Trump's
Yeah.
funny, don't get me right.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
having
I
that
mean,
shit,
he's an
but-
entertainer.
But
It's
I mean,
different.
but Vance is
Vance is a
he's
politician.
just so well put together.
But he's a politician.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Between
more
Vance
reformed.
and Cruz and who's the governor in Florida currently still?
DeSantis.
Oh, I love Ron.
Yeah, I'm saying is the Republican has a lot of younger up and coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't put DeSantis in that up and coming aspect. He kind of
did to
fucked
himself,
himself
yeah.
up.
Internet has a short memory, dude.
No, he kind of fucked himself up. But here's what I will say.
If he wasn't fighting their fucking hurricanes all the time.
Yeah, I mean, fucking
And Disney, like
goddamn weather
taking on Disney, man.
creating hurricanes down there. I'll say this though. I do think there's a lot of younger people in this party. I mean, even if you look at like the Tulsi Gabbard, you look at Robert F. Kennedy. They're sharp still. Like they're gonna be here for a while. I'll be interested to see some of the up and comers in the Senate and the House over the next couple of years. I like Jim Jordan a little bit. I like the fact that he's always willing to fucking.
He's fucking
He's got
scrappy.
balls. He'll
does.
stand up and tell him. You know what I mean? That's what you need.
I wish he would. What's the word I'm looking for? I wish he would kind of get some better results. But I like the fact that he's able to put there. I don't want us to be a party of sound bites anymore. Like,
Action.
like I need action.
Yep.
And right now, there's no excuse for not having action. The fucking red wave took over the fucking country. We own the fucking government right now. Get some stuff passed. And I mean, let's just get some stuff fucking done. Like, there's no excuse for it right now. You've got everything that you need to make it happen, and it should happen relatively quickly. They should be putting this stuff into action now, so that come January 6th, we're ready to go.
They
We're ready to
definitely
go.
have to. They definitely have to keep that momentum, right? Because that's the story of the Dems. That's why they lost, is like because people are tired of sound bites and virtue signaling and all that bullshit. Like that is the one thing that was my outtake from The View. So I'll spare you guys. You don't have to go watch it. But even in their group, as they're still even day after, and then 3-4 days after election, they're still shit talking, trying to say, well, I can't believe I'm disappointed in America. They voted for a felon. They did this. They're still talking in sound bites. But then also at the same time, the group is saying the Dems are now pointing fingers. Like even Bernie Sanders is pointing fingers. Like, well, they can't blame Biden. They can't blame Harris. They're
still
fucking
alive.
gone. Like,
It's like you lost a working class American. They don't
Right.
trust you.
right. That's exactly
That's
what
what
it
Bernie
is.
said,
Is that they don't necessarily care.
Well, Bernie got fucked in 2016, though.
Oh,
He
well,
sold
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
He
got fucked, dude. They basically kicked him out and put Hillary in.
Yeah.
Good. Communism sucks.
I mean, it's like they don't learn from their fucking mistakes, which, hey, good for us. I mean, we could literally have control for the next 12 years the way things are going. All we got to do is make shit fucking happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Not
We
even a
gotta fix
lot.
our elections. and
Just
make
get back to
IDs
regular.
mandatory.
So here's a Guys Night podcast official prediction here. 2028, JD top of the ticket, Don Jr.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know about Don. Maybe.
I mean, he's very well spoken. He's very
Yeah.
crisp. I think it's gonna have to be a woman.
Barron is
I'd
a
say Tulsi
fucking
might get the
bulldog.
vice
That would
president.
work.
Barron.
Is that
He doesn't even look real.
I think a Vance Gabbard is more likely.
Yeah, I'd vote
unless
Vance
unless
Gabbard.
another woman kind of comes out of nowhere over the next couple of years.
Oh, you might be right. there.
You're gonna need it. You can't just have two white guys in charge of the fucking country. Like I mean, look, they might be the best fucking team possible to put. You know what, Vivek too.
Yeah.
Vance Gabbard would be great though. I'd vote for that for sure.
What's that?
Vance Gabbard would be fantastic.
Yeah, I
I'd
would.
vote for that.
Absolutely. But I'm hoping that Gabbard gets a high position in the cabinet there. She can actually make a fucking difference.
I've got a very high position for her.
And that's why she's not going to be the president.
Aloha. But we'll see what happens. Let's see, what time is it?
We at Guys Night are sponsored by Evan Williams.
Yeah, that bottle's cash. Cash money. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for joining us for the first time. Hopefully you guys had a good time. Make sure we have you guys back again. Anything else? Anybody got anything else to add? No.
I'm not saying until the camera's off.
Fucking robots again over there.
Robot fucker.
Yeah, but she's not going to be named Megan Fox this time.
Wait, what?
Anna de Armas.
Oh, you gotta get a robot of a different person.
Obviously, you got to change it up. You can't change. If you can't change it out like the background of my cell phone, why do I even want it?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I
It
mean, I
should
guess
be
at that point, yeah,
skins.
AI should be pretty. Yeah, you should have skins like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
After
I hope
you,
it has skin.
After you
Like,
fuck it
shit.
like 25 times, you get a new skin.
Change it up.
Congratulations, you've moved to the next level. Choose your next partner.
Upgrade. Can upgrade her brakes.
Oh, God.
All right, hey guys, thanks for joining us. Appreciate everybody being here. Good night, everybody.
Welcome to the night zone. Hear the warriors speak. Life's the battlefield and we ain't feeling weak. From love to the game and the power we seek. Our voice is strong, breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Politics and prayers ain't no subject we shun. Keep it real, keep it raw till the battle's won. Fitness, tips to faith, every topic under the sun. With honor and valor, every man's battle begun. Warriors with words, swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Warriors with words, swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray.